In a world of fantasy, how far can a genius go when those at the top are willing to pave his path with blood and power? Jingming widened his eyes as he looked at the gift in Lang Shuang's hand, clearly sensing that its value far exceeded any reward he had ever received before. Without hesitation, he immediately refused it. A faint smile curved on Lang Shuang's lips as she acknowledged Jingming's admirable restraint. She explained that the item was a level 8 protective talisman, capable of withstanding an attack from an 8th-rank grandmaster. She insisted that Jingming accept it, as it was no longer of any use to her. Receiving such an incredibly valuable gift, Jingming expressed his deep gratitude and promised that in the future, he would be willing to do anything if Vice Principal Lang Shuang ever asked. With calm confidence, Lang Shuang praised his attitude but pointed out that, with her current strength, he would likely never get the chance to fulfill that promise. Instead, she told him to focus on his studies. Zhang Luo watched silently from the side, his eyes filled with undisguised greed. Even seasoned martial artists wouldn't dare dream of obtaining such an item. Yet Lang Shuang had casually handed it to a mere student. Wang Jiyu also observed in silence, inwardly reassessing Jingming's immense importance in the eyes of the powerful vice principal. Those with great potential naturally attract investment, but they also become targets of envy. From what he had seen, Wang Jiyu decided he must build a strong relationship with Jingming. Lang Shuang then asked about Jingming's upcoming plans. With the enrollment period for Modu University approaching, she offered to personally escort him back to campus. Jingming hesitated, feeling that his strength still had weaknesses. He requested to stay for 2 more days to continue training. Lang Shuang immediately agreed, willing to wait. Jingming bowed in gratitude, secretly astonished by the exceptional treatment he was receiving. Meanwhile, Zhang Luo grew increasingly jealous as he realized how differently a true genius was treated. If he had made the same request, he would likely have been beaten instead. The entire Meteor Club resort villa lay quiet under the sunlight, a peaceful scene masking the turbulent undercurrents beneath. Jingming suddenly woke up in bed and quickly grabbed his phone to check the time after his long sleep. Panic struck as he realized he had been unconscious for 2 full days and nights. His allotted time in the secret realm was now less than 2 hours. Jingming's biggest worry right now is not being able to complete his cultivation process and forgetting his appointment with Lang Shuang. But the moment he rushed out of his room, he froze in surprise. The vice principal was still there, she hadn't left at all. Lang Shuang calmly asked about his condition. Jingming scratched his head awkwardly, admitting he had slept too well and was now on the verge of messing everything up. She let out a soft laugh and told him not to worry. His S-grade access card had already been upgraded to permanent status. His time restrictions were completely removed. Jingming hurriedly expressed his thanks. However, Lang Shuang modestly denied taking credit. She explained that it was Wang Jiyu who had taken the initiative to upgrade Shu Jingming's access privileges. This clearly showed that Wang Jiyu had recognized Jingming's future potential and decided to invest early. But Jingming firmly stated that he understood one thing: without Lang Shuang's influence, Wang Jiyu would never have been so generous. This was the moment the true nature of rules became clear. Rules exist to bind the weak, but the system always leaves a back door open for the strong. When your value is high enough, every rule becomes nothing more than scrap paper. Lang Shuang was very pleased that Jingming could see through the situation so clearly. She emphasized that Wang Jiyu still didn't know Jingming possessed sulfur monosulfide level power, but this secret would inevitably be exposed during the national tournament. She told him to make the necessary preparations. Jingming, however, felt confused. He had no idea what exactly he needed to prepare for. Lang Shuang looked straight into Jingming's eyes. She began to speak in a grave tone, issuing serious warnings. Once you display your strength in the upcoming national tournament, fame will come, and with it, temptation, wealth, status, and beautiful women. These are the sweetest traps other powers will use to buy you over. After all, the last time someone with near sulfur monosulfide level power appeared was 4 years ago. Jingming responded firmly, promising that he would stay true to his path of cultivation. Lang Shuang nodded, but admitted that what worried her most was beauty and seduction, the most common tactics used by powerful foreign forces. Then she made a suggestion that left Jingming uneasy. If 2 girlfriends aren't enough for you, I can help you find more. Absolute power often comes with the most raw and primal temptations, designed to test the very core of oneself. Jingming blushed, flustered, thinking to himself that her way of speaking was far too blunt and ruthless. Leng Shuang ended the conversation by calling in the people waiting outside to finish discussing matters. At that moment, Wang Jiyu stepped into the room. He brought shocking news. Li Kanggai had been imprisoned, and the entire Li family had collapsed. They would never again pose a threat to Jingming. Jingming understood that the disappearance of the Li family was not the result of justice being served. The true motive of those in power was simply to clear obstacles for a valuable chess piece. A single word from the person in power can wipe out decades of effort by an arrogant family. Jingming once again expressed deep gratitude for being granted the privilege to enter this place at any time. Wang Jiyu smiled and said it was nothing. He merely wanted to contribute a small part to the nation's development. Hearing that Jingming wished to comprehend thunder transmutation, Wang Jiyu had secured permission for him to use the top level of the Thunder Tower for the next 24 hours. Jingming clasped his hands in thanks, knowing this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to break past his current limits. Leng Shuang urged him to begin his cultivation immediately. She would personally lead him there. Before leaving, Jingming bid farewell to Wang Jiyu and Zhang Luo, promising to meet them again with a completely new self. Zhang Luo said she had come specifically to say goodbye to him. A spatial gate opened, carrying Jingming into the highest level of the Thunder Tower. Outside, crimson lightning bolts struck down violently, as if trying to tear apart any intruder. Inside the top level, Jingming calmly sat down. He closed his eyes and meditated at the very center of the lightning storm. He allowed the raging energy to tear at his flesh, feeling the pure lightning element flowing into his body. He could clearly sense that the concentration of the element at this level was much closer to its origin, making comprehension far more effective. At this moment, the mindset of a genius was not merely a hunger for power. It was a struggle between gratitude and immense pressure. He had to grow stronger at all costs, because failure would mean betraying the enormous resources that had been invested in him. Jingming focused. Energy began to gather at his fingertips. With intense concentration, he compressed the lightning into a new form of matter. 17 hours passed. At last, the raging lightning transformed into a liquid state. Jingming revealed a confident smile. He had officially mastered the technique thunder transmutation. Now, he could condense lightning into a sphere and hurl it outward. Its destructive power would become a nightmare for any opponent. Jingming opened the Deep Blue System interface and checked his stats. His vitality had surged to an astonishing 3,122 points. He still had more than 18,000 ability points remaining. Numbers do not lie. They stood as irrefutable proof that the line between an ordinary person and a monster is sometimes nothing more than a ruthless decision against oneself. Jingming began planning his next move. He knew clearly that 18,000 points were not enough to break through to the 4th level. Therefore, he decided to focus on improving his combat skills. With enhanced strength, he would have a better chance of earning more ability points in the upcoming national exam. The national exam was divided into individual matches, team battles, and a survival competition. Among them, the survival round awarded points based on the number of monsters killed. At that time, all monsters would be at level 4 or higher, guaranteeing a massive gain in skill points. Based on this reasoning, Jingming decided to go all in, spending all his potential points to upgrade the skill Indestructible Thunder Body straight to the 5th tier. 15,000 points were deducted. The upgrade process began. A violent surge of lightning roared and enveloped his entire body. Jingming's black hair turned into a brilliant white. Tens of thousands of golden lightning arcs surrounded him like a god. His ability points transformed into an immense life force. His vitality stats skyrocketed by another 1,000 points in an instant. Since a powerful physique requires matching techniques to unleash its full potential, Jingming invested all his remaining points into martial arts. In an instant, he reached the master level. He threw a direct punch. The strike tore through space itself, unleashing a terrifying thunderous explosion that shattered the walls of the tower. Now, he could kill a level 4 monster with a single punch and stand toe-to-toe with a level 5 beast. Jingming understood clearly. Absolute power is not born from blind training. It is the result of burning through the most valuable resources in extreme ways to crush all limits imposed by rank. Jingming stepped out of the training chamber. Leng Shuang was already waiting outside. She looked at him in shock. His physical condition had grown to an almost absurd degree. Jingming humbly explained his breakthrough to the 5th tier. Lang Shuang smiled in satisfaction. She admitted she had overlooked something. The indestructible thunder body technique Jingming cultivated was extremely special. When he first enrolled, she had personally approved granting him an sulfur monosulfide level resource, a drop of 8th rank dragon blood essence. Then, she activated a radiant blue spatial formation beneath their feet, transporting Jingming back to the academy. At the same time, in a dark fortress thousands of miles away, the Heavenly Fate sect was stirring with a new assassination plot. Inside a shrine, a subordinate reported to the sect leader. The intelligence stated, Lang Shuang had successfully killed the assassin Bloodshade. However, she herself had suffered a critical injury and could no longer safely use spatial abilities to protect Jingming. A sinister assassin with sharp teeth and a long scar stepped forward into the hall. He knelt and volunteered for the mission. He swore to take Jingming's life on his way back. A bloody purge had been set in motion within the shadows. A heavy tension blanketed the council chamber of the Heavenly Fate sect. The figure at the head, cloaked in red, admitted that after the nation's relentless purges, the sect had suffered devastating losses, too great to directly target Xu Jingming at this time. The leader ordered all followers to retreat into the shadows, to wait for the moment when the primordial tide reached its peak. When the supreme god descended, the Heavenly Fate sect would attain immortality. A true predator is never impatient, it knows how to endure. Waiting to deliver the most lethal strike, the fanatical disciples quickly carried out the command without hesitation. Meanwhile, at the academy, the towering skyscrapers still stood tall and unmoving, yet an undercurrent was quietly building, ready to sweep through the entire place. After maintaining his awakened state for 17 continuous hours in an attempt to break through, Xu Jingming's exhaustion was evident. Pushing one's power forward through extreme effort always came with a corresponding physical cost. Noticing this, Lang Shuang handed Jingming a small package of pastries, assuring him they would be helpful. Xu Jingming accepted it without delay, but appearances were deceiving. What looked ordinary was actually a rare grade B cultivation resource designed to restore mental energy. It was the first time he had seen such a valuable item from a secret realm packaged in such an unassuming way. Jingming took a bite, and instantly felt a gentle, cooling stream of energy rapidly filling the emptiness within his body. Lang Shuang smiled, her tone playful as she remarked that the pastry not only restored energy but also brought good luck. She wished him the best results in the upcoming national examination. Then she delivered an important announcement. Jingming would officially become the team captain, leading the academy's representatives in the upcoming National Alliance tournament. Though slightly surprised, Jingming quickly accepted the role. His gaze sharpened, filled with cold determination. His goal was not merely to participate, but to claim the championship, to prove that his meteoric rise was not the result of luck. Seeing the resolve in his eyes, Lang Shuang was deeply satisfied. She informed him that the final roster would be completed that evening. And if nothing went wrong, it would be published on the Academy's official website the following morning. The next day, when the official list was released, the student body could hardly believe their eyes. Uproar and heated debates erupted instantly. A storm of public opinion was about to sweep across the entire academy. Displayed clearly on the screen was the name Xu Jingming, listed as team captain. Ranked above Kong Shi, a fourth-year student, it was an unprecedented arrangement in the academy's history. The students voiced their dissatisfaction, arguing that placing a freshman in the captain's position was far too risky. They worried that Jingming lacked the experience needed to face the powerful opponents from other academies. Some insisted that Kong Shi, with his greater experience, should be the captain. Others countered that even with Kong Shi as captain, victory was far from guaranteed. At the same time, one student trembled as he looked at Jingming's leaked combat statistics. Overwhelming strength was the only language capable of silencing arrogance and forcing acceptance of reality. He could hardly believe that two students of the same freshman class could have such a vast gap between them. Elsewhere, Xia Dongxia rushed over to inform Tong Shuyan that Xu Jingming had become the captain of the student team for the national examination. Jingming's rapid rise had now become the center of attention among the female students throughout the academy. Sha Dongxia teased Dong Shuyan about having spent time with Jingming in the Thunder Realm, yet making no meaningful progress. Tong Shuyan revealed that Zhang Suaoshui had also been there that day. Sha Dongxia was taken aback by this information. She couldn't understand why Zhang Suaoshui had been brought along. Didn't Tong Shuyan know that Zhang Suaoshui also liked Xu Jingming? Tong Shuyan admitted that the presence of other outstanding individuals around Jingming made her feel a bit pressured. And she would feel guilty if she tried to keep him all to herself. In Shuyan's eyes, Zhang Suaoshui was a good girl, while Sha Dongxia saw her as someone incredibly generous, someone willing to share Xu Jingming with others. The open-mindedness both girls showed regarding sharing their affection for Jingming was enough to astonish any outsider. In the world of the strong, companionship sometimes held greater value than mere possession. However, Tong Shuyan did not consider herself a generous person. At his current rate of growth, Jingming would soon become like a blazing sun, drawing countless satellites into orbit around him. If those people were familiar faces, it would still be better than strangers. Even so, Tong Shuyan clearly understood that Jingming had yet to truly open his heart or accept anyone. For now, everything remained at the level of mere teammates. Sha Dongxia grew concerned. She knew that after the national tournament, Jingming's fame would spread rapidly, attracting even more exceptional girls. People better than me. Those words stirred unease within Tong Shuyan. The confidence of a genius was often accompanied by the anxiety of those standing beside them. She felt that she needed to act faster. A resolute determination flashed in Tong Shuyan's eyes. She silently told herself that she could not afford to waste another second. At the teacher's villa, Yang Zhenshin revealed that Zhang Luo had already told him everything that had happened in the Thunder Realm. Yang Zhenshin was very pleased with Jingming's growth. In his view, when facing enemies, necessary ruthlessness was the very thing that protected oneself and others from even greater trouble. Jingming explained that he had dared to act that way because he was under the protection of Principal Lang Shuang. Yang Zhenshin reminded Jingming that he must repay the life-saving grace and the silent support he had received from Principal Lang, urging him to always keep it in mind. Jingming nodded, affirming that he would never forget. When asked about his current strength, Jingming revealed that he had reached the peak of level 4, and in his Thunder Extreme state, he could fight on equal footing with a level 5. Yang Zhenshin was so shocked he was left speechless. A level 4 being able to contend with a level 5 defied the fundamental laws of the cultivation world. Jingming admitted that his combat power hadn't been that strong at first. But thanks to a fortunate breakthrough into the 5th layer of the Thunder Indestructible Body, his physical strength had undergone a miraculous leap. Yang Zhenshin suggested that Jingming should prove his strength, establish his position within the academy, and silence the whispers questioning Principal Lang's decision. Power came with responsibility, and the best way to protect those who supported him was to prove that their trust had been well placed. Jingming asked what he should do, even wondering whether he should challenge Kang Shi to a real fight, but that would likely cause unnecessary trouble. Yang Zhenshin believed that climbing the virtual ranking board was the wiser choice. Jingming suddenly realized that he had been so focused on real combat that he had overlooked this powerful ranking system. A new plan began to take shape in his mind. Before he left, Yang Zhenshin advised Jingming to carry out his climb at the training complex. Yang Zhenshin believed that advancing there would prove far more beneficial than Jingming expected. Jingming stepped into the virtual testing zone within the training complex, a place where the most advanced neural simulation technologies converged. Around him, other students were chatting and boasting about their achievements, completely unaware that a true monster had just arrived. Jingming stood before the most advanced simulation pod, a specialized device reserved exclusively for S-rank students, capable of perfectly reconstructing combat data with absolute precision. The crowd quickly noticed Xu Jingming's presence. They hadn't expected him to come and challenge the academy's ranking board. The news spread like wildfire. Everyone wondered if he could surpass Kang Shi. Almost instantly, the news that the Thunder Emperor Jingming had entered the virtual rankings exploded across the academy's BBS forum, drawing thousands of viewers in the blink of an eye. At that moment, Jingming calmly stepped into the pod. shutting out all the surrounding noise to focus on a single goal, becoming number one. The capsule lid slowly closed, marking the moment he left the real world behind and stepped into a new conquest within the digital realm. The system began scanning his neural data and prompted him to release his abilities for synchronization. Begin. That single word signaled the start of a spectacular overthrow of the throne. Streams of data coursed through his body as every nerve connected seamlessly to the simulation system, preparing him for a journey into a limitless world. A blinding light engulfed his consciousness. The transition from reality to illusion was not just a leap in technology. It was the liberation of humanity's boundless potential. Jingming opened his eyes to find himself standing in a grand hall lined with towering stone pillars. A place where the normal laws of physics no longer applied. Before him stood the combat power ranking board, displaying over 4,000 names, a staggering number that reflected the brutal competition among the Academy's geniuses. The number one position belonged to Kang Shi with over 500,000 points, while Jingming was still at the very bottom. The gap on the leaderboard was sometimes nothing more than an illusion of time. Yet it remained the only measure by which the world judged strength. Eva, a charming AI assistant, appeared with a warm smile to welcome the S-rank freshman to his first virtual trial. She introduced the extensive equipment system, allowing Jingming to freely select weapons and adjust their weight to best match his real combat feel. Jingming silently observed the arsenal, searching for something that truly matched his lightning-fast fighting style. In the end, he chose only a combat suit and a grade B silver spear. For a true expert, the quality of equipment mattered far less than confidence in one's own skill. Without hesitation, Jingming requested to begin. A massive magic circle flared to life beneath his feet. Eva counted down the final seconds, opening the first layer of the virtual realm. Jingming was teleported to a lush green plain. Gripping his spear tightly, he could feel the realism of every blade of grass within this top-tier simulation. The silence was shattered as a herd of red-eyed, buffalo-like beasts charged toward him like a raging storm, intent on crushing the intruder. Jingming stood still, waiting. Lightning began to gather and crackle at his fingertips. True power did not need to reveal itself early, it only needed to erupt at the perfect moment to end everything in an instant. A blazing thunder explosion swept across the battlefield, annihilating the entire herd in a single strike, turning the opening battle into a display of absolute dominance. Floor 1 was cleared so quickly that even Eva was surprised. Jingming declined any rest time, choosing to press forward to higher levels without pause. Meanwhile, in the fourth-year dormitory, a heated discussion filled with tension was unfolding over Principal Leng's decision to appoint the team captain. The senior students couldn't hide their dissatisfaction. They believed Kang Shi was far more deserving of leading the team than a mere freshman. Although Kang Shi himself remained calm, stating that Jingming was fully qualified for the role, those driven by jealousy were eager for any opportunity to bring him down. Kang Shi's attitude led others to see him as overly kind, which only fueled their frustration. These students decided they would find a way to challenge Xu Jingming. Jealousy often stemmed from the inability to accept someone else's superiority. At that exact moment, the news of Jingming beginning his climb up the virtual rankings exploded across the Academy forum, leaving everyone holding their breath in anticipation of what kind of miracle this S-rank genius would create next. Welcome back to a brutal fantasy world in the story of Jingming, a place where a record that has stood for hundreds of years is about to be shattered in just a few short minutes. A male student staring at his phone nearly dropped his jaw when he saw the name Jingming suddenly surge to rank 42 with over 210,000 combat power, despite the fact that just moments ago, Jingming's stats had been a perfect 0. The student frantically checked the timestamps and uncovered a horrifying truth. This insane climb had only begun exactly 3 minutes ago. Standing nearby, Kang Shi began muttering calculations under his breath, his expression turning unusually grave. To reach that position, Jingming would have had to clear the first 20 floors at an average speed of under 9 seconds per floor. True power didn't lie solely in physical strength. It also resided in neural processing speed, allowing its wielder to reduce an opponent's reaction time to 0. Another student rushed over, his face filled with disbelief, wondering if the system was experiencing some kind of technical malfunction. But the truth was, every forum across the academy was exploding with discussions about this rising name, Jingming. The students tried to reassure each other, saying that lightning-type ability users clearing mobs quickly was normal. They firmly believed Jingming would soon be halted at floor 21, where the difficulty underwent a drastic shift. One of them explained that floor 21 was the dividing line of true ranks. Only those who could defeat the lower-tier level 4 monsters there would be recognized as part of the academy's elite. What? There's another update already? The student broke into a cold sweat as the numbers on his phone kept refreshing in real time. A new notification appeared. Jingming had climbed to rank 35. With 244,000 combat power. This rate of progression had clearly surpassed all conventional logic. The group of students stood frozen, mouths agape, when they realized that Jingming had just executed one-hit kills on both floor 22 and floor 23. In their eyes, Jingming was no longer a rookie, he was a complete monster. Elsewhere, Kong Shi, the current rank 1 holder, could no longer maintain his usual composure. He fell into deep thought, realizing that Jingming was far stronger than anyone had ever predicted. Inside the trial tower, the space had fallen eerily silent after a series of lightning-fast battles. Jingming stood there, surrounded by the remnants of the monsters he had just annihilated. The AI assistant Eva cheerfully reported that the entire forum was going insane over Jingming's terrifying climbing speed. Even the excitement of an artificial intelligence made it clear, this was an unprecedented event. Jingming remained completely calm. To him, possessing an SS rank ability, Heavenly Thunder, and climbing any slower than this would have been the real anomaly. This confidence wasn't arrogance, it was a clear understanding of his own absolute potential. Eva asked if he wanted to rest for a minute after clearing floor 23. But Jingming's response was short and decisive. Continue. He had no intention of letting the flow of his power be interrupted midway. The challenge on floor 24 began with 5 level 4 armored earth drakes. The summoning circle flared with radiant light, signaling a battle of far greater intensity. 5 massive beasts materialized, their steel-like scales glinting as they roared, threatening the intruder, but in Jingming's eyes, they were nothing more than moving target dummies. Without even reaching for his spear, Jingming gathered lightning into his palm, forming a blazing sphere of energy crackling with violent arcs of electricity. Go! He unleashed the attack. The bolt of lightning surged forward with terrifying force, carrying the destructive power of a god. A blinding explosion instantly swallowed the entire battlefield of floor 24. Everything happened so fast that the Earth Drakes didn't even have time to comprehend what was happening. The system announced that Jingming had officially entered the top 10, his combat power surpassing 400,000. The next challenge on floor 25 was a peak level 4 monster, the Thunder Berserk Bear. Jingming smiled with interest as he recognized it as an old acquaintance. One that had once forced him into a grueling battle. This time, he intended to use it to test just how far his current limits had advanced. Before the battle began, Jingming curiously asked the AI assistant Eva what his combat power would reach if he cleared this floor. His ambition was no longer just to pass the trial, it was to dominate the leaderboard. Eva explained that floor 25 was the graveyard of most top-ranked elites. Aside from Kong Shi, who had taken a full 30 minutes to clear it, no one else had succeeded. If Jingming could clear it quickly, he would officially claim the number 1 spot. The colossal Thunder Berserk Bear appeared, roaring with overwhelming ferocity. The pressure radiating from a peak level 4 beast made the very air seem thick and heavy. Last time, you cost me quite a bit of time, but this time, that won't be necessary. Jingming gripped his spear as brilliant arcs of lightning erupted across his body. He moved like a bolt of lightning, his speed so fast that afterimages of electric light trailed behind him. This immediate offensive made it clear, Jingming completely controlled the tempo of the battle. Before the Thunder Berserk Bear could even clearly see its opponent, Jingming was already upon it. The beast's roar was utterly drowned out by the deafening thunder unleashed by Jingming's attack. A lightning-clad punch slammed directly into the monster's massive body. The sheer force of the impact was so overwhelming that the surrounding space seemed to tremble. Lightning pierced straight through the Thunder Berserk bear, killing it instantly. This was no longer a battle, it was a complete display of overwhelming dominance. Even Eva was stunned by Jingming's sheer brutality. A single punch was all it took for him to seize the number 1 position on the combat power rankings. Outside the trial tower, the crowd of students stared in shock as the number 510,000 appeared. The Thunder Emperor has reached rank 1. When the gap in power surpasses a certain threshold, the efforts of the weak become nothing more than symbolic numbers. Kang Shi stepped forward and asked how long it had taken Jingming to increase from 400,000 to 510,000 combat power. Less than 20 seconds. The answer sent chills through everyone present. The difference in level was simply too vast. The crowd couldn't believe that a peak level 4 Thunder Berserk bear had been defeated so effortlessly. In their minds, the name Jingming had now become synonymous with the word monster. None of them had imagined that an S-rank ability could be this terrifying. Kang Shi bitterly acknowledged the overwhelming gap between himself and Jingming. The principal's decision to appoint Jingming as team captain now seemed entirely justified. Accepting one's own weakness in the face of a true genius is the first step for any warrior seeking their own path to growth. Inside the tower, the AI assistant Eva appeared with a radiant, shimmering hall of honor. She asked Jingming to sign his name and immortalize this monumental moment in history. A new king had officially ascended. Without hesitation, Jingming took the pen and wrote his name upon the golden board. Every stroke carried the confidence and ambition of someone who wielded an SS rank ability. The name Jingming shone brilliantly at rank 1 with 514000 combat power, a number that would likely remain untouched for a very long time. Jingming wondered if he was the first high school student to ever achieve such a feat. But Eva informed him that he was not the only one. That revelation stirred the pride of a genius deep within him. Eva then told him about Qian Liang, a prodigy from 100 years ago who had also cleared floor 25 during high school. Thanks to an SS rank body enhancement ability, he was both a benchmark and a target for Jingming to surpass. Jingming recalled the name Qian Liang, a genius who, despite his talent, failed to reach level 8 and ultimately died during an expedition into ancient ruins. Eva then asked whether Jingming wished to continue his journey, reminding him that the real challenges had only just begun. Curious, Jingming asked about Qian Liang's final tower record. Eva revealed that Qian Liang had failed on floor 26, managing to defeat only 3 out of 5 peak level 4 monsters. Clenching his fists, his eyes blazing with determination, Jingming gave the command to begin the floor 26 challenge. Records are meant to be broken, but could his ambition carry him beyond the limits that previous geniuses had failed to surpass? The challenge on floor 26 began with the thunderous roars of a pack of monsters. Jingming quickly noticed that the Thunder Berserk bears had grown more cunning, spreading out into a coordinated formation instead of charging all at once. But to him, the tactics of the weak were nothing more than futile struggles against absolute power. A proud smirk formed on Jingming's lips as a terrifying energy began to gather at his fingertip. So you've learned, but it's still useless. Thunder God's finger. A colossal bolt of lightning erupted from his fingertip, engulfing the entire pack of peak level 4 Thunder Berserk bears in a blinding explosion. The pinnacle of power is not measured by how many enemies one can defeat, but by the ability to erase all resistance with a single thought. As the smoke cleared, a devastated battlefield remained. That single attack hadn't just cleared floor 26, it had established Jingming's unshakable dominance within the tower. Floating in midair, Eva excitedly announced that Jingming had officially cleared floor 26, his combat power skyrocketing to an unimaginable 710,000 points. She then asked whether he wished to proceed to face the next challenge, a level 5 monster. The Earth Shadow Black Wolf. Jingming gazed into the void, his expression turning serious upon hearing about his new opponent. The Earth Shadow Black Wolf was not only powerful but possessed dual attributes, Earth and Shadow, making it a truly formidable challenge he had never directly faced before. Let's take a short break. Jingming muttered. He needed a moment to stabilize his combat rhythm. Within the virtual space, Jingming sat down to rest. Though his power seemed limitless, his mind still required moments of stillness to absorb the pressure from consecutive battles. Eva informed him that he had 3 precious minutes to recover. Outside the waiting hall, the atmosphere was deathly silent. Everyone held their breath, watching to see what the monster Jingming would do next. The male student stared at the display screen, deep in thought, wondering just how terrifying the challenge on floor 27 would have to be to finally halt that unstoppable climb. Maybe a large pack of peak level 4 monsters. Or Kang Shi trailed off mid-sentence. The friend beside him shook his head in disbelief the moment Kang Shi mentioned a level 5 beast. For the students, that was an entirely different tier, a boundary no high schooler should ever touch. A lower tier level 5 monster? That's impossible. Jingming now stood before a wall that no one in hundreds of years had ever managed to overcome. The rest period ended. Jingming rose to his feet as lightning once again surged across his body, brilliant, violent, and brimming with menace. Begin! The command rang out decisively, marking the start of a battle at an entirely new level. Jingming activated the full power of his heavenly thunder ability, preparing for the first clash. His gaze turned razor sharp, locked onto the darkness ahead. Come, he shouted, openly challenging the hidden enemy. The Earth Shadow Black Wolf revealed itself, its crimson eyes blazing with killing intent. Its mere presence carried immense physical pressure, making even the ground beneath tremble. This was no mindless monster, it was a true predator. The moment the battle began, the wolf activated its innate ability. The ground shattered violently, sending massive chunks of rock hurtling straight toward Jingming. The speed and force of this attack were on an entirely different level from anything he had faced before. The flying boulders tore through the air with terrifying destructive power. Jingming was forced to move constantly, using his spear to deflect the incoming obstacles closing in on him. A powerful impact forced Jingming to take several steps back. The force behind this thing, it's insane. It's been a long time since I felt this kind of pressure. Jingming began to truly feel the weight of a genuine level 5 monster. The real challenge wasn't simply finding a way to win, it was maintaining his resolve while confronting the fear of his own weakness. Breaking through the hail of falling rocks, Jingming charged straight toward the wolf, but the moment he closed the distance, the beast unleashed a coordinated combination attack. The fusion of Earth's solidity and Shadow's unpredictability forced Shu Jingming into a passive position. The ground trembled once more as a razor-sharp stone pillar erupted from directly beneath his feet. Shu Jingming reacted instantly, swinging his spear to shatter the massive rock. But that was also the moment he exposed his greatest opening. The wolf had been waiting precisely for that instant. Seizing the opportunity, the beast vanished silently into the chaos. The shattered debris surrounding Shu Jingming further restricted his vision and mobility. The space around him had become nothing but a storm of dust and killing intent. This is bad. A bead of sweat slid down Shu Jingming's forehead. For the first time since entering the tower, he felt the rhythm of the battle slip beyond his control. The hunter was now becoming the prey within his own game. The wolf opened its jaws wide, rows of razor-sharp fangs gleaming as it lunged straight at Shu Jingming, intent on ending the battle in a single bite. Gritting his teeth, Shu Jingming reversed his spear, bracing himself in desperate defense. With his advantage in speed, the wolf managed to wound Jingming, its claws grazing his shoulder, sending blood spraying into the air. Blue lightning burst violently from the wound. Although this was a simulated environment, the pain felt terrifyingly real. Jingming quickly lowered his body, slipping past the wolf's next pounce. He had to admit that an attack from a level 5 monster was not something that could be taken lightly. To probe his opponent, Jingming raised his hand and used the long-range skill Thunder God Finger. A bolt of lightning tore through the air toward the wolf, but the black beast was far too agile. It dodged effortlessly and continued closing the distance at a frightening speed. Jingming quickly realized that long-range S-rank skills like Thunder God Finger or Heavenly Thunder Technique were extremely difficult to land on such a mobile target. If he wanted to win, he had no choice but to take the riskiest path, close combat. The moment the target entered his range, Jingming swept his lightning-wrapped spear in a wide arc, forming a wall of light to block the monster's advance. A high-speed chase began. Jingming weaved past the wolf's razor-sharp claws, his weapon thrusting straight toward the beast's abdomen. He believed that was its weak point. The wolf immediately caught on to Jingming's intent. As the attack approached, it used its hind leg to block him. Sparks and lightning exploded at the point of impact between the spear tip and the creature's steel-like hide, creating a powerful shockwave. Overpowered by sheer strength, Jingming was blown backward, yet he remained perfectly calm. Using the momentum to flip midair, his spear once again aimed straight at the wolf's head. At that moment, the spear in Jingming's hand shone with a brilliant blue lightning glow, gathering all its power for a decisive strike. But the wolf blocked once more with a sweeping kick. A massive collision erupted. The spear tip seemed to pierce through the monster's formidable defense. Jingming immediately activated an SS rank skill. At the peak of his explosive state, Jingming's eyes blazed like a god's, his entire body enveloped in majestic heavenly lightning. He unleashed his next attack without hesitation. A thunderous explosion shook the battlefield. The ground shattered into fragments, and the level 5 wolf was heavily injured. Its massive body sent flying backward. Eva appeared, her expression tense with shock. She hadn't expected Jingming to be this powerful. At just 19 years old, he had defeated a level 5 monster, something unprecedented in an entire generation. Moreover, Jingming's true strength didn't lie solely in his powerful spear strikes, but in his ability to adapt and evolve continuously at the edge of life and death. After 20 minutes of suffocating, intense combat, the wolf finally collapsed completely at the feet of the new king. Jingming himself was exhausted. This battle had drained his strength and spirit to the limit. He realized that he still lacked an S-rank spear technique capable of wide-area attacks, something necessary to handle large groups of enemies more effectively. He decided he needed to return to the wilderness as soon as possible to gather more skill points. At that moment, Eva delivered a shocking announcement. Jingming's combat power had reached 1,010,000 points, officially setting a new record at Mado University. Jingming was surprised by the massive number. Eva explained that defeating a level 5 monster was something very few could achieve, so the high reward was justified. She then asked if he wanted to challenge Floor 28 immediately. Jingming nodded, but requested a short break to recover his strength and mental state. Outside the simulation chamber, the students were in an uproar, endlessly discussing the 1 million point achievement of the Thunder Emperor Jingming. When a genius shatters all conventional standards, the world no longer cares about their origins. It simply bows in reverence before the presence of a new king. Inside the third-year student dormitory, Kong Shi's group was equally astonished. They had never expected that a level 3 freshman could defeat a monster on the verge of reaching level 5. This was simply terrifying. Kong Shi spoke up with a mocking tone. Who was it just now that said they would fight Jingming? The 5 despairing students quickly waved their hands, one of them bitterly admitting that just a single finger from Jingming would be enough to crush him. Meanwhile, Yang Zhenshin stared thoughtfully at his phone screen. He also hadn't expected Jingming to set a new record. A peak level 3 student defeating a level 5 monster was something very few people could accomplish. As the coach of the team preparing for the upcoming international competition, he concluded that his entire strategy would have to change because of the emergence of such a massive variable. However, Yang Zhenshin was also pleased, knowing that Jingming's performance would help Vice Principal Leng Shuang relieve a great deal of pressure. In a luxurious office, Leng Shuang sat there with a satisfied smile on her lips. She knew that her decision to invest in this young man was already beginning to bear fruit. Back in the virtual space, Jingming was ready for a new challenge. Begin, Eva, Jingming commanded. Immediately, 3 level 5 wolves appeared, surrounding him within a blazing and ominous magic circle. This time, the sheer number posed a real problem. Rocks were sent flying everywhere under the overwhelming pressure and skills of the savage beasts. Jingming instantly activated his SS rank skill, but he struggled to hold his ground. Being surrounded drained his energy rapidly and made it extremely difficult to maneuver. In a brief moment of vulnerability, one wolf clamped its jaws onto Jingming's shoulder. Red warning lights indicating critical damage flashed continuously throughout the space. Jingming was thrown into the air, completely losing control as the bloodthirsty monsters closed in. A scream echoed out as Jingming clearly felt his body being torn apart, even within the simulated environment. His body dissolved into countless particles of light, marking his first defeat since beginning his tower climbing journey. Eva quickly ended the trial. The magic circle appeared once more, and the wolves vanished instantly. Jingming reappeared in the waiting hall, his mind still violently shaken by the experience of such a realistic death. He raised his hand, staring at his own palms. The numbness and lingering fear still clung to him. Even though he knew it had all been an illusion, Eva smiled mischievously, explaining that the system had automatically suppressed part of his sensory perception to protect his brain from real damage. Curious, Jingmin asked about the test on floor 29. Eva hesitated for a moment but eventually revealed the details. Since Jingmin was a special S-rank student, she explained that floor 29 would feature a mid-tier level 5 monster, while floor 30 would have 5 such monsters appearing simultaneously. At present, the simulation program only extended up to floor 30. Jingmin took a deep breath, realizing the extreme difficulty of the trial tower. Yet his eyes burned even brighter with determination to conquer it. However, he also felt that 30 floors were too few. Eva reminded him that not every student was as strong as he was. Most graduates only reached mid-level 4. And clearing floor 30 was already incredibly difficult. Jingmin fell into deep thought. He believed that in the future, the system would certainly need to expand with many more floors to fully measure his capabilities. Eva informed him that once he cleared floor 30, they would discuss the matter further. At the same time, she reminded him of the valuable reward of 2,000 points reserved exclusively for the champion. A chime rang out, signaling the end of the session as the virtual chamber slowly opened, bringing Jingmin back to reality after moments of life and death in the digital world. Stepping outside, Jingmin couldn't help but marvel at how modern technology had blurred the line between reality and illusion to a frightening degree, except for the sensation of death, which still hadn't truly reached the soul. Just as he regained his composure, Jingmin suddenly paused at the noisy commotion ahead. He was stunned to see a massive crowd of students blocking the exit, as if they had been holding their breath, waiting for his appearance for a long time. Shouts of "Thunder Emperor" echoed throughout the hallway. Some even pushed forward eagerly, hoping to get an autograph from the one who had just surpassed the 1 million combat power mark. In a world where strength is worshipped, true recognition only comes when others have no choice but to look up at you. Faced with such overwhelming enthusiasm, Jingmin could only offer a polite smile, silently expressing his gratitude for their support. He tried to slip through the crowd, searching for a bit of quiet space to regain his balance after the immense pressure of the trial tower. Tong Shuyan had already been waiting. She stepped forward to congratulate him with a radiant smile. Unable to hide her admiration for his extraordinary achievement, Jingmin casually remarked that it was just a basic test, nothing worth being surprised about. Tong Shuyan commented that only Jingmin could think that way. She reminded him of their appointment and asked if he was free that afternoon, not forgetting her bold personality. Tong Shuyan threw out a playful challenge, asking whether Jingmin dared to fight her once more later that day. Jingmin politely suggested the evening instead, as he already had training scheduled for the afternoon. His attitude remained calm and respectful. Tong Shuyan agreed and set the meeting for that night. A subtle, thoughtful look flickered in Tong Shuyan's eyes. She silently hoped that her plan for the evening would go smoothly as expected. The scene shifted to the second floor of the academic building, a place where the most outstanding individuals of Mado University gathered. Kang Shi, who had just been pushed out of the number 1 position, calmly acknowledged that Jingmin's strength was entirely deserved when questioned by his teammates. Shen Dongling looked at Kang Shi with admiration, praising his composure. The number 1 position could be lost, but the bearing of a true powerhouse could never be extinguished. Another member of the group glanced toward the entrance with anticipation, then smiled as Jingmin walked in. Jingmin's entrance immediately drew everyone's attention. He politely greeted them all. Glory often comes hand in hand with storms. And how will Jingmin face the implicit invitation from Tong Shuyan tonight? When others' peak is only your starting step, that's the sign of absolute domination. Shu Jingmin entered the meeting room where the top students of Mado University were already waiting. The moment Jingmin appeared, everyone saluted in unison. "Welcome, Captain Shu." After Jingmin became the strongest combatant at Mado University, no one dared to doubt Mado's power anymore. Jingmin's face remained cold as he calmly replied to everyone. The composure of a powerful person creates an invisible pressure on those around him without any need for threats. At that moment, teacher Yang Zhenshan also appeared. Yang Zhenshan smiled in satisfaction and signaled the team to prepare to enter the virtual simulation chamber to begin their first group training session. In the blink of an eye, the group appeared in a blinding white space, where all physical laws were erased, giving way to the pure display of supernatural abilities. Once the students settled, Yang Zhenshan began explaining the regulations of the intercollegiate exam, emphasizing that coordinated teamwork is the key to victory. Therefore, everyone must understand their teammates' abilities from now on. He went on to announce the inter-school competition lineup of 8 people, 5 starters and 3 substitutes. In a top-tier battle, Lineup depth is the insurance against sudden variables that can occur at any time. Yang Zhenshin began introducing them. Kong Shi, the tall boy with spiky hair. He possesses an A- rank ability, Giant Bear Form, which greatly enhances physical strength when activated, serving as the team's tanker and protecting the front line. Next was Shen Dongling, the brown red-haired girl with the assassin ability Demonic Moon Bloodfang. Along with Yao Fang, a frost mage who wields the extreme cold ice core. Guo Yuan, the delicate girl with a high ponytail, is a support ability user of Myriad Transference Radiance, capable of healing and boosting allies' strength. The three substitutes, Dao Quan, who possesses an A- rank enhancement type power and serves as a warrior, Li Changfeng, an A- rank ability wielder and a mage, and finally Su Ruo Yun, who has an A- rank support skill. Finally, Yang Zhenshin turned to prepare to introduce the mysterious team captain, but before he could speak, Yao Fang interrupted confidently, assuming everyone already knew Jingming was a genius with a rare S-rank ability. Yang Zhenshin shook his head slightly. No, Jingming is not S-rank. He possesses an sulfur monosulfide rank lightning type ability. Jingming remained standing, expression unchanged, but the entire room fell silent. SS ability, Heavenly Urban Angel Thunder. The name carries the force of absolute destruction, making all A-rank geniuses suddenly seem insignificant. Doubtful looks instantly turned to astonishment. Everyone wondered how someone could reach such an almost mythical tier. Now they understood why the lightning Jingming used was golden. They were curious how an S-rank ability could evolve into sulfur monosulfide rank. Yang Zhenshin refused to explain that mystery. He told them to simply remember that Jingming has an sulfur monosulfide rank power, to ensure fairness for the upcoming tournament. Yang Zhenshin stipulated, equipment is limited to A-rank armor and S-rank weapons. Immediately after, a virtual weapons cache appeared in midair, allowing members to choose freely. Jingming casually picked up a spear. He thought to himself that this rule was actually intended to look out for weaker schools, since the big academies could manufacture SSS rank equipment. Jingming tested the spear's balance, then decided to load the familiar Lu Yun Golden Wind spear data into the system before the next session to achieve higher accuracy. Yang Zhenshin asked Jingming to demonstrate his ability as a basis for building tactics. Jingming anxiously asked, "Do I need to show all attack methods?" Yang Zhenshin nodded. He believed it was necessary. It would help teammates better understand Jingming's powers, and he could use that data to construct strategy. Knowing the limits and potential of the main card is the first step to mastering the whole game. Jingming did not refuse. He explained that he was proficient in many combat styles, from spear techniques and hand-to-hand combat to long-range magic. Jingming assumed a combat stance with the spear. Golden thunder began to coil around the weapon, radiating a blinding aura of dominance. The whole team watched with bated breath. They began to feel the terror of an sulfur monosulfide rank ability. The more romantic ones thought the lightning was beautiful, often the beauty of power scales with the destruction it carries. Jingming began demonstrating his skills. Continuous thunder spear. A chain of spear images was launched so fast the naked eye couldn't follow, tearing the air apart. Thunder prison. Giant bolts struck down, forming an electric cage that encircled the simulated target. Thunder spear. The final thrust concentrated all the lightning's force into a single point, producing horrific piercing power. Jingming's silhouette blurred among the flashes, moving at a speed that left only golden afterimages. The team erupted with excitement. In that moment they believed the championship was secure. Others felt anxious, thinking their own abilities were too insignificant to aid Jingming in battle. But the demonstration wasn't over. Jingming sheathed his spear and said casually, "That was just a warm-up." Those words left everyone stunned. When another's peak is merely your starting point, that's the sign of absolute domination. Next, Jingming activated a defensive combat technique, Soul Prison Thunder Armor. A dark thunderous armor cloaked his body, radiating a heavy, death-like pressure. Dao Quan, always confident in his defense, trembled slightly. He realized Jingming's armor far surpassed his own bronze ward. Heavenly Thunder Art. A colossal bolt descended from the sky, turning the ground into a white sea of electricity. Jingming gathered energy at his fingertip and said calmly that although the single target damage of Heavenly Thunder Art is very high, this still isn't his strongest move. Jingming immediately activated Thunderfinger. A deafening explosion rang out as a gigantic electrified hand materialized from the sky. Under Jingming's control, it slammed into the ground, carrying the weight of a 1,000-ton bolt, crushing every obstacle in its path. Blinding light from the blast swallowed the arena. Arcs of lightning and flying debris scattered, creating a scene of terrifying chaos. As the dust settled, the team stared in shock at the ground, torn to pieces. They couldn't believe this attack came from someone only at rank 3. Kang Shi wondered about the arena's construction. Yang Zhenshin explained that the floor was modeled from a C-grade ultra-durable alloy. Yet even the aftershocks of Jingming's strike were enough to destroy it like this. Shen Dongling clutched her head, unable to hide her worry. She wondered, if the captain could single-handedly sweep opponents like this, what was the point of the rest of the team taking the field? Yao Fang panicked and urged Yang Zhenshin to tell Jingming to hold back a bit so others would have a chance to face opponents. Yang Zhenshin laughed heartily and said there would be no holding back. He demanded the team quickly raise their strength if they didn't want to only watch Jingming sweep the entire tournament. In the race to the summit, the strongest never stops to wait for anyone. Yang Zhenshin gazed into the distance, recalling the bitter defeat to Capital University last year. With Jingming's arrival, Mado University would never be defeated again. Jingming withdrew his lightning and calmly announced he had finished demonstrating all his combat techniques. Yang Zhenshin nodded in satisfaction, then asked the remaining members to take turns showcasing their individual abilities. The simulation space quickly lit up with various powers, fire, ice, and physical enhancements, as each person stepped forward. A lineup of A-rank geniuses was taking shape, led by an sulfur monosulfide rank monster. Guo Yuan approached Jingming, hesitating as she asked whether her enhancement ability could truly be effective on someone as powerful as an sulfur monosulfide rank like Jingming. Jingming showed no arrogance, he simply reached out gently, signaling her to try. A soft green light enveloped Jingming, increasing his combat power by 30%. This impressive number made Jingming realize the true value of a skilled support in real combat. The training session ended smoothly. Yang Zhenshin announced dismissal but asked Jingming to stay behind to discuss a more important strategy. The other members left the virtual space one by one. They waved goodbye to the young captain, their eyes full of admiration and absolute trust. When only the two of them remained, Yang Zhenshin looked at Jingming seriously, preparing to entrust him with a weighty responsibility in the upcoming tournament. Yang Zhenshin explained that the intercollegiate tournament is a long rotating competition with tremendous pressure. Therefore, he wanted Jingming present in every match, to overwhelm and crush opponents from the outset. Without hesitation, Xu Jingming gave a confident smile and replied, "No problem. The truly strong never shirk responsibility. For they know the greater the burden, the more brilliant the glory achieved." Jingming was strolling leisurely when his phone suddenly rang repeatedly. On the other end was a familiar female voice. Tang Shuyan asked Jingming if he had finished training and invited him to her place. She even deliberately said she was wearing a combat suit that made it inconvenient to go out. Hearing that, Jingming agreed immediately without much thought. The young man was still rather naive when it came to the traps of romance. On the way, he kept wondering what she meant by combat suit inconvenient to go out. The mindset of a martial artist made him try to interpret it as some special combat technical issue. Jingming stopped in front of a luxurious training building and pressed the doorbell. A ding-dong echoed in the quiet air. A bespectacled guide with an intellectual air smiled and welcomed him. She said Tang Shuyan was waiting in the gym on the second floor. In a world that prized strength, the arrival of a genius like Jingming always received special treatment. Jingming walked in but still felt that there was something off about the guide's smile. A fighter's sharpness sometimes completely fails against a woman's subtle intuition about shady matters. He took a deep breath and pushed the door into the gym. The light from inside made Jingming squint for a moment. Then Jingming was completely stunned. His eyes widened when he saw the scene before him. Tang Shuyan stood there in a skin-tight high-tech combat suit that accentuated her alluring curves. She gave him a slight smile of greeting. She explained it was Limit Tech's new combat suit model, designed to minimize air resistance. Still, she seemed worried and asked Jingming if it looked too strange and whether she should buy another one. Jingming blushed and cleared his throat to regain composure. He said the suit was fine and there was no need to change it. Tang Shuyan smiled smugly. Thinking her plan had worked, she had deliberately chosen a smaller size to gauge Jingming's reaction, and it seemed like the right choice. In the game of romance, the calculating party always gains the advantage from the smallest details. Tang Shuyan picked up a spear and suggested a sparring match, asking Jingming to restrain his power to the second stage. Jingming took off his jacket, revealing a toned physique. He confidently accepted the challenge, believing that his fists alone would be enough to beat her. Jingming asserted that he was different now, that his fists alone could subdue her. Tang Shuyan refused to back down, replying that she had improved too and would no longer stand still. They both took fighting stances. The gym's atmosphere immediately grew tense. When two fighters face off, words are redundant compared to fighting instinct. Tang Shuyan struck first. Her spear sliced the air toward her opponent. Jingming leaned and dodged with exquisite finesse. Jingming used his bare hands to deflect the spear's tip. Moving with water-like fluidity, he still controlled the match's tempo perfectly. Tang Shuyan continually changed techniques. Her agility had clearly improved since before. Each clash generated powerful shockwaves. Jingming countered with lightning-fast punches, forcing Tang Shuyan to use the spear defensively. Tang Shuyan smiled and praised Jingming for his beautiful dodges. Both were enjoying the exhilarating spar. However, Tang Shuyan's landing stances seemed calculated to fully display the beauty of her body. The match continued. The distance between them kept shrinking, and each other's breath and movements were felt clearly. Tension peaked. Jingming closed in. Their faces were just a few centimeters apart. A silent moment appeared amid the storm of strikes. They separated, sweat streaming down their brows. Heavy breathing echoed throughout the large room. Jingming flashed a confident smile and asked Tang Shuyan if she was convinced after being completely subdued by him. Tang Shuyan licked her lips provocatively. She admitted defeat but not surrender. She said she wouldn't be convinced unless he could make her truly feel the pain. A flash of electricity lit Jingming's eyes. The dragon bloodline coursing through him seemed stirred by that alluring challenge. Jingming surged forward at terrifying speed, leaving trails of golden light behind. Tang Shuyan startled at the sudden eruption. She only had time to gasp as Jingming appeared before her like a thunder god. Tang Shuyan couldn't evade. She recoiled in fear, gripping her spear tightly. The atmosphere instantly grew razor sharp. Realizing he'd gone a bit too far, Jingming quickly released and stepped back. He apologized for losing control in that moment. Tang Shuyan clutched her chest, panting, then shook her head that she was fine. Perhaps it was the influence of his dragon bloodline. Her gaze softened toward him. Mustering her courage, she looked straight into Jingming's eyes and asked if she could ask an important question. Jingming froze, then nodded. Jingming, do you like me? The direct question stunned him. His heart raced. Even an SS-ranked genius can feel small before a question of the heart. Jingming's eyes met Tang Shuyan's, filled with fierce inner turmoil. All martial strength seemed useless under the pressure of love. Yes, just one word, short but weighty, confirmed Jingming's feelings for Tang Shuyan. The spear in Tang Shuyan's hand clattered to the floor. Every last barrier had been removed. In love, sometimes the simplest admission holds the greatest power. Tang Shuyan erupted with joy and threw herself into his arms. Amazing. I like you too. Let's be together. Jingming could only smile in return. He nodded slightly. Tang Shuyan's sincerity had completely won over the cold warrior's heart. Jingming bent down and pressed a kiss to her lips, a moment marking a new turning point for them both. The passionate kiss happened in the middle of the training hall, where love and martial arts merged. When a legend finds a reason to protect, his power knows no bounds. Afterward, Tang Shuyan playfully chided him, asking why he hadn't been proactive before confirming the relationship. Jingming smiled and said that acting prematurely would have been indecent. Tang Shuyan merely nodded, her face still a little shy. Suddenly she rose on tiptoe and planted a light kiss on Jingming's cheek, a bold but sweet act of claiming him. Tang Shuyan teasingly said Zhang Suaoshui had left a mark on his face before, so she had to do the same to be fair. Jingming, embarrassed, hadn't expected she knew about it. In a complicated relationship, frankness about potential rivals is a way for a woman to seize the initiative. Tang Shuyan said Zhang Suaoshui was a very good person, and if he had feelings for Zhang Suaoshui she wouldn't stop him. Jingming could only exclaim, huh? In surprise, Tang Shuyan explained that within sulfur monosulfide ranked genius like Jingming, many would surely flock to him in the future. Rather than be a stranger, she preferred Zhang Suaoshui. A smart woman's vision isn't total possession but choosing suitable people to help keep an extraordinary man. Jingming breathed a sigh of relief, saying that even if he liked Zhang Suaoshui, she might not want to come between them. It seemed Jingming still underestimated his own appeal. Tang Shuyan smiled knowingly, asserting that if Zhang Suaoshui agreed, he certainly wouldn't refuse, right? Then Tang Shuyan suddenly turned and called out Zhang Suazu's name, saying the choice now lay with Zhang Suaoshui. Jingming jerked, sensing something amiss. From the dark corner of the gym, Zhang Suaoshui slowly stepped out with a radiant smile. It turned out she had been watching the whole time. Zhang Suaoshui approached, winked playfully, and said Jingming must keep his promise and not let Tang Shuyan down. What does it feel like to have two girlfriends at once? Jingming could only stand frozen, stammering with no words. This situation was outside any combat scenario he'd ever studied. The two girls looked at each other and smiled meaningfully, leaving the poor genius completely flustered in the training hall. Jingming lowered his head and sighed, finally resigning himself to fate with a weary but faintly sweet okay. Sometimes happiness comes in ways reason can't explain. Tang Shuyan declared excitedly that from now on the three of them would officially be together. She even thoughtfully asked if anyone was hungry so they could go get a late-night meal, but first she said she needed to shower because she was sweaty from the match. She turned to invite Zhang Suaoshui to join her, and Zhang Suaoshui gladly agreed. The two beauties left hand in hand, not forgetting to tease as they glanced back. Jingming, do you want to shower with us? Their boldness left Jingming utterly embarrassed. Before he could reply, Zhang Suaoshui hurriedly said that someone as strong as Jingming wouldn't be sweating anyway. Inside, Jingming silently shouted, I want to go too. A humorous truth hidden beneath his serious exterior. Jingming stood watching their figures fade away, smiling wryly but filled with happiness. Jingming wondered, he'd come here to train. So how did he end up with two girlfriends? When fate is set, even the driest path of cultivation can bloom brilliant flowers of love. But how long will this peace last? With the major tournament approaching and real rivals still lurking? On the second day in the primal wilderness, Jingming sat atop the corpse of a giant monster. After spending some time killing monsters, he had gained 5,000 anomaly points, enough to take the next steps. Looking back on the less than half-year journey, Jingming quietly marveled at his rate of progress. Now he could almost traverse this wilderness without trouble. Unless he had the misfortune of encountering a rare level 5 monster. His gaze stopped when he saw a brilliant bush of flowers under a large tree. With the main task done, it was time to find a small gift to bring back. It was the 100-color flower, a rare bloom of the region. Jingming decided to pick a few. As a gift for those who had helped him at the academy, he carefully selected 3 of the prettiest stems. In the world of the strong, subtle manners sometimes help build lasting relationships. In the headmaster's office, she was focused on handling work on the holoscreen. A quiet space surrounded the large library behind her, which housed a great deal of valuable knowledge. Hearing a knock, the female vice principal looked up with sharp eyes and softly allowed the person outside to enter. Jingming entered with a calm but resolute appearance. He greeted her politely and said he had just returned from the wilderness after practical training. She nodded with approval, praising Jingming's dedication to training. According to Lang Shuang, no matter how realistic the virtual training hall, the real environment was still the best place to hone survival instincts. Seeing Lang Shuang trust what he said, Jingming felt a little uneasy at the praise. Actually, he had mainly gone out to farm anomaly points, but saying he'd been training sounded more appropriate. Jingming took out a dew-kissed branch of the 100-color flower and respectfully offered it to Lang Shuang. It was a simple gift but expressed a student's respect for his mentor. The golden blossom hovered in the air, emitting a soft glow that surprised Lang Shuang slightly. A gentle gift. In contrast to the fierce battles of everyday life, in her life she had received many precious offerings from A rank up to SSS rank. But being given a flower like this was a first. The value of a gift does not lie in its rank, but in the emotion it brings to the recipient. A rare smile appeared on Lang Shuang's lips. Jingming's tact had touched the feelings of the powerful 8th grade grandmaster. The conversation turned to the upcoming inter-school tournament. Lang Shuang said she had heard Jingming's team had defeated the strongest team in Mado's history. Jingming modestly said the reason for the victory was that the opponent still had weaknesses. Seeing Jingming's ability and good attitude, Lang Shuang felt completely confident. In response to the flower, she summoned a stream of green energy from the void. A magic circle appeared, forming into bright cards. They were not combat items, but they were exactly what everyone wanted right now. They were 10 internal VIP tickets for the national tournament. And Lang Shuang gave them to Jingming so he could invite family or friends to cheer. Jingming broke into a sweat when he looked at the stack of tickets in his hand. Tickets for good seats like these couldn't always be bought with money. Yet she handed him a whole stack. Feeling embarrassed, Jingming said he didn't dare accept because the gift was too precious. But the vice principal only smiled and told him not to be so polite. Lang Shuang also reminded him that he had received much help from her before. Lang Shuang affirmed that the best way to repay her was to perform well in the upcoming tournament. A teacher's trust was both pressure and motivation to push the genius beyond his limits. Jingming looked Lang Shuang straight in the eyes and made a firm promise. The vow of the SS anomaly holder would be fulfilled through action. After leaving the office, Jingming strolled slowly down the street. The first thing he did was call his family to share the joy about the rare tickets. On the other end of the line were his aunt and cousin. They were delighted to hear about the VIP tickets. Family support was always a solid anchor before great challenges. After finishing with his family, Jingming went to the meeting spot near the Caramel Cafe. He was thinking about how to allocate the remaining tickets to his two girlfriends, Shuyan and Suaoshui. Quick footsteps sounded behind him. The two girls arrived right on time. Looking radiant in the afternoon sun, Shuyan and Suaoshui stepped closer. Curious why Jingming had urgently called them out today. Instead of getting straight to the point, Jingming produced the two remaining 100-color flowers and gave them to the girls. The unexpected gallant gesture made both of them blush. The atmosphere suddenly grew sweeter. Power can defeat enemies, but care and gentleness are what bind teammates' hearts. After giving the flowers, Jingming took out the stack of tickets and asked how many they needed. No more words were necessary. Both were delighted not to have to queue for family tickets. Shuyan cheerfully accepted 2 tickets for herself and a friend, while Suaoshui took only 1. The joy spreading around seemed to erase the pressure of competition. Then Shuyan revealed that the 2 girls had their own plans. They would leave early to take the pharmacist exam, so they probably couldn't see Jingming and the team off the next morning. Jingming gently ruffled their heads in encouragement, wished them luck on the exam, and arranged to meet in Toan at the city. Everyone has their own path, and supporting each other is the best way to progress together. After saying goodbye to the 2 girls, Jingming quickly went to the combat techniques library. Time was short. He needed to learn a powerful skill to ensure victory. There he summoned the virtual assistant Eva and requested a list of all S-rank lightning spear techniques in the Academy's archive. A virtual list appeared before Jingming. Only 5 sets met the criteria, and Jingming began examining each carefully to choose the one that suited him. Finally, he settled on the Thunder Trident Demon Spear. This S-rank technique allows the spear's field to be coated with electricity, increases attack speed, and produces powerful piercing explosions. Jingming decided on this skill. He asked Eva to fetch the original manual for him. SS power is the foundation, while high-tier skill manuals are the tools to maximize that power. Sitting at the cultivation station, Jingming received the skill manual from Eva. He felt excited about learning a new technique. He flipped through the pages, focusing on memorizing how the electric flow operated. With his abilities, understanding these principles wasn't too difficult. After a while, Jingming closed the manual and sat quietly to internalize all the information. The deep blue system activated immediately, deducting 3,200 anomaly points to help him reach the skill's novice level. Feeling the new power in his body, Jingming smiled confidently. Everything was ready. The storm of thunder and lightning was about to appear on the national stage. After spending 3,200 points, Jingming felt the change clearly. He thought Deep Blue was a very effective tool for quickly boosting power. Learning this skill improved him a lot, and Jingming eagerly awaited to see how strong it would be. Having just learned the S-rank skill, he did not stop. He asked Eva to find an additional A-rank lightning auxiliary skill to complete his combat style. Among many options, he noticed an interesting skill, lightning illusion art. This technique emphasizes speed and creating illusions. Great for disrupting opponents. The details were clear. It creates an electric clone that can deal up to 30% additional damage. Auxiliary skills are often underestimated, but in practice they help maintain pressure and provide excellent support in battle. Jingming nodded in satisfaction. Although the damage wasn't as great as the S-rank skill, if used well it would still be very effective. Choose this skill, Eva, he said decisively. Time was running out. Every bit of added power increased his chances of victory. The next morning at the Academy's spaceport, the starship NCC-1701 was ready for takeoff. An excited atmosphere enveloped the team as they departed. Shen Dongling appeared in a new uniform, looking powerful and striking. The modern outfit highlighted the aura of Mado's top geniuses. Cheers rang out everywhere. Go Mado! Go Thunder Emperor! The shouts boosted the team's spirits before the tournament. Jingming stood on the starship and raised his hand to wave to everyone. Below, thousands of students watched with pride and high expectations. Before long, the starship appeared over Toan City. This was where the main matches would be held, gathering the strongest opponents from everywhere. At the landing dock, Qingjing Anomaly University had prepared a large reception team. Security was tightly controlled because this was a sensitive area. Located near Demon Whale Cave No. 5, on the observation balcony, Qingjing's representatives watched Mado's starship with serious expressions. Competition between the top schools made the atmosphere tense from the start. The starship's landing generated strong gusts that blew dust across the plaza. An impressive entrance befitting the position of the reigning runner-up, Tai Hung, Kong Shi, and Shen Dongling disembarked in turn. These names, feared by the anomaly community, were now all present and ready to face any opponent. Jingming stepped out last, his gaze cold and resolute. He told himself the decisive tournament had finally begun, and it was time to stop hiding his SS-level anomaly. The inter-school tournament officially started here. Vice Principal Leng Shuang and the students of Magic Capital University had just stepped off the airship when representatives from Qingshu City quickly approached to welcome them. He politely informed them that a lavish lunch had already been prepared for the entire team. The group was escorted to the central restaurant of Qingshu City, a place regarded as a symbol of the gathering of elites on the eve of the National Ability Tournament. Jingming's team entered the room with calm composure. His presence quickly drew attention from those around him. Many students began whispering about him, the S-ranked captain of Magic Capital University. They admitted Jingming had striking looks, but assumed he was merely a figurehead, not someone truly powerful. Shen Dongling smiled and quietly remarked to Jingming about the disrespectful glances from nearby tables. Jingming didn't care, calmly replying that it actually worked in their favor. When people underestimate their opponents, they are more likely to make mistakes. At that moment, a figure approached from across the room. The young man with vibrant green hair introduced himself as Wang Qi, the captain of Capital University. He took the initiative to extend his hand, wanting to make Jingming's acquaintance. After the brief handshake, Wang Qi said he had long heard of Jingming and suggested they meet again at the opening ceremony tomorrow. Jingming responded with equal politeness. Wang Qi left with a confident wave, leaving behind a slightly tense atmosphere for the Magic Capital team. One team member commented that Wang Qi was far too arrogant, acting as if he could defeat all of them. Shen Dongling added more context. Wang Qi possessed a pseudo-S rank ability called Celestial Domain, Meteorfall, an extremely powerful skill. Moreover, his strength had already reached peak level 4, so his confidence wasn't baseless. Another teammate clenched his fists, irritated, saying that just because they had won once didn't mean they could keep winning forever. How naive. He swore that once the match began, he would show them who truly ruled the arena. Jingming nodded slightly in agreement, then told everyone to eat first. He mentioned that later he needed to head to the high-speed rail station to pick up someone important. At Qingshu City's high-speed rail station, the announcement echoed as train K312 arrived. Passengers were reminded to watch their belongings and disembark in an orderly manner. Stepping onto the platform, Jingming's cousin couldn't help but admire the beauty of the city. The others nodded in agreement. This was the most impressive station they had ever seen. With an incredibly well-designed guidance system, standing in the crowded hall, Tang Qi scanned the area, wondering why Jingming hadn't shown up yet. At that moment, a blond young man approached. He introduced himself as Kei Liang, wearing an unpleasant smile as he bluntly asked for her contact information. The girl frowned slightly and immediately refused. She stated that she didn't have the habit of sharing personal information with strangers. Her firm rejection caused Kei Liang's friends behind him to burst into laughter. They mocked him, a handsome guy like him getting rejected so directly. Some even joked that this was too funny and they had to report it to their captain later. Embarrassed, Kei Liang immediately grew angry. He loudly insulted the girl, calling her pretentious and claiming that asking for her contact was a sign of respect. In the end, he grumbled that this was truly an unpleasant experience. Seeing his friend being insulted, Zhou Ming immediately stepped forward. His face turned cold as his voice dropped, asking Kei Liang what he had just said. Kei Liang sneered, seeing someone dare to stand up to him. He looked down on Zhou Ming, asking if he even knew who he was. Zhou Ming quickly realized the opponent was at peak level 3, on par with his own instructor. The surrounding crowd began to take notice. They recognized the uniform of Baishan Ability University and identified the blonde man as Vice Captain Kei Liang. The atmosphere instantly grew tense, and many wondered if a conflict was about to erupt. Not wanting trouble, Tang Qi quickly grabbed Zhou Ming's arm, urging him not to stoop to someone like that. Even Kei Liang's teammates stepped forward, reminding him to restrain himself. They said their main goal was the competition, and causing trouble would damage the university's reputation. But Kei Liang refused to back down. He snorted coldly, saying that if it weren't for the upcoming match, he wouldn't have let them leave so easily. Then he mocked Zhou Ming, saying that someone who had only just reached level 1 had no right to stand up for anyone. After a contemptuous click of his tongue, the arrogant vice captain turned to leave, but the moment he turned around, he suddenly collided with someone. Jingming's solid body felt like a concrete wall, causing Kei Liang to stagger in pain. Kei Liang stepped back a few paces and looked up, his expression shifting as he evaluated the person he had just bumped into. Jingming had been standing there long enough to understand everything that had happened. He looked directly into the other man's eyes with a cold gaze and asked, "If he's not qualified, then what about me?" Seeing the blonde man fall silent, not daring to respond, Jingming continued coldly, "Since you won't say it, I'll say it for you." Golden lightning began crackling violently in the palm of his hand. A sharp slap echoed loudly, accompanied by a blinding surge of lightning, striking the arrogant vice captain straight across the face. The blow was so powerful that it sent Kei Liang flying backward. Blood and teeth sprayed from his mouth as intense pain overwhelmed him, not giving him a chance to speak. Jingming immediately grabbed Kei Liang by the hair and yanked him forward. What followed was a brutal punch straight to the stomach, sending Kei Liang skidding across the station floor. The vice captain collapsed on the ground, clutching his abdomen and coughing violently, while Jingming stood there, completely dominating the scene. Seeing her brother arrive at the perfect moment, Tang Qi and her friends let out a sigh of relief. They were thrilled that Jingming had vented their anger for them. Kei Liang's teammates hurried over to help him up. The moment they realized it was Jingming, the captain of Magic Capital University, who had attacked, they immediately told him to stay down and wait for their captain to handle it. The incident quickly drew a crowd. People gathered around, pulling out their phones to record, whispering about the terrifying strength of the S rank from Magic Capital, who had just arrived and already defeated Baishan's vice captain. One member of the Baishan team angrily stepped forward, loudly questioning Jingming on why he attacked their vice captain without provocation, insisting they had done nothing to offend him. Jingming responded calmly. It was true they hadn't provoked him, but unfortunately, that man had crossed the line by targeting his cousin and her friends. Hearing this, Kei Liang's eyes widened in shock. He realized he had just messed with the family of this monster. The words his cousin slipped bitterly from his lips, just as the tension peaked. A young man pushed through the crowd. He introduced himself as Ji Wei, the captain of the Baishan team, and asked everyone to step aside while demanding to know what had happened. Ji Wei glanced around in irritation. He had only stepped away to pay the bill, and upon returning, found his team had created a mess. In contrast, his teammates looked relieved to see him. Ji Wei turned to face Jingming. He acknowledged knowing that Jingming was the captain of Magic Capital University. He admitted their side was at fault first. but pointed out that they were all competitors in the tournament. He then questioned whether Jingming's actions were a bit excessive. Jingming remained calm. With a mocking tone, he replied, "You're also competing teams? Then which university do you even represent?" Hearing this, Kai Liang clenched his teeth in fury. His swollen face twisted with humiliation. He couldn't believe the other party didn't even know who they were and still attacked so mercilessly. It was clear they were being completely looked down upon. Ji Wei firmly introduced himself as the captain of Baishan Ability University. He brought up tournament rules as a warning, stating that private fights could lead to disqualification. If Jingming didn't apologize to his vice-captain, he would report the matter to the Education Bureau. Jingming simply smirked, his eyes filled with challenge. "Go ahead and report it. I don't care." Ji Wei broke into a cold sweat, grinding his teeth in frustration at that response. He bitterly realized his threat held no weight at all. With no other option, Ji Wei ordered his team to withdraw. Together, they supported the heavily injured Kai Liang and left the station. Tang Qi asked Jingming worriedly whether this incident would cause trouble. He reassured her not to worry, they were in the right, and the organizers wouldn't disqualify him over something so minor. Elsewhere, a member of the Baishan team questioned why they retreated so easily. Ji Wei replied irritably that the report was just a bluff. Magic Capital University was a seeded team. They wouldn't be eliminated that easily. He sighed, rubbing his forehead with a tired expression. Ji Wei added that this matter wasn't over, and Jingming definitely wouldn't let them off. Hearing that, Kai Liang grew even more anxious. Clutching his aching stomach, he trembled as he asked if, after being beaten so badly, the other side still intended to take revenge. Ji Wei shook his head, his tone serious. He said the real concern was that Jingming would take revenge during the official matches. The entire team froze. Their mouths hung open as they realized the gravity of the situation. Someone stammered that they were truly doomed this time. If they faced Magic Capital, they would be crushed without mercy. Kai Liang now looked utterly miserable, overwhelmed with regret for dragging his team into this disaster. He clasped his trembling hands together and silently prayed that his team would not be matched against Magic Capital University. Ji Wei insisted that it wasn't easy for their team to make the top 10. So he decided to make Wang Ming the substitute for Kai Liang. If Kai Liang can't compete tomorrow, Wang Ming will have to go in immediately. Kai Liang panicked and asked the captain. He hadn't realized it was this serious. Seeing his teammate tense, Ji Wei asked again, "Now you're scared?" He sighed softly and said he only hoped Mado wouldn't be too harsh with their team. At that moment Jingming was preparing to leave with Tang Qi, and the two old friends walked out of the station. Seeing Jingming still on the phone, when Tang Qi suggested they hurry, Jingming signaled to wait a bit longer because he had to pick someone else up. Tang Qi curiously asked who could be so important. Jingming turned around, beamed proudly, and said it was his girlfriend. The remark left Tang Qi and the others frozen for a few seconds in surprise. Watching Jingming's back as he walked ahead, Zhou Mingyang and Meng Wu couldn't help but be curious, constantly guessing what his girlfriend would look like. Mingyang was certain she must be a tall beauty. No sooner had he finished speaking than Song Tong Shuyan waved happily from afar and ran over with her roommate. Jingming smiled, confirmed she had arrived, then introduced Tong Shuyan to everyone and mentioned that the bespectacled girl with her was Sa Donga. When Tong Shuyan arrived, she asked Jingming in surprise about the identities of his new friends. Jingming quickly reintroduced them, saying these were Tang Qi's younger sister and two friends from Zhang City, Zhou Mingyang and Meng Wu. Tong Shuyan politely greeted them as well. Tang Qi looked at Tong Shuyan in admiration because she was so beautiful. Meng Wu teased Tang Qi that, just as he guessed, Jingming's girlfriend was indeed a tall beauty. Tong Shuyan cleverly returned the compliment, saying Tang Qi was also a great beauty. Reuniting with Jingming's friends, Tong Shuyan generously took out 3 glowing B-grade cultivation resource vials. She said it was just a small, not overly expensive gift and hoped everyone would accept it because it would be very useful for cultivation. But when they saw the items, all 3 were astonished. The B-grade resources she called not overly expensive actually cost at least 5 to 6 million taels per vial. After Tong Shuyan finished giving the gifts, Jingming saw everyone was present and suggested returning to the hotel to drop off their things first. He asked Tang Qi where the hotel was to arrange a ride. Tang Chi said their hotel was near the high-speed rail station, about a kilometer away. Hearing that, Jingming frowned slightly because the distance to the arena was quite far. Tang Chi could only force a smile and explained that the tournament was so famous that all hotels near the arena had been fully booked long ago. At that point, Tang Shuyan spoke up and said she had a few vacant villas near the arena. If no one objected, they could stay there for convenience. Hearing this, Jingming's friends were utterly shocked. In this city, villas weren't just worth hundreds of millions, they were sometimes impossible to buy even with money. They began to wonder just how formidable Jingming's girlfriend really was. Seeing Tang Shuyan's enthusiasm, Tang Chi felt a bit embarrassed and said it would trouble her. Tang Shuyan only smiled and replied that as Jingming's sister was like her own sister, this small matter was no trouble at all. After saying that, she took out her phone and called Uncle Lee, asking him to bring a car to pick everyone up. Shortly after, a line of glossy black Cadillacs pulled up neatly at the curb, immediately drawing every eye. Stepping out were a team of bodyguards in black suits, extremely cold and professional. All of them respectfully bowed to greet the young miss. Zhou Mingyang and Meng Wu were stunned by the scene. They realized even the driver was a peak rank 3 ability user, and the 4 bodyguards would be top-tier figures if they appeared in Zhang City. Seeing everyone still bewildered, Tang Shuyan urged Tang Chi to get in so they could take everyone straight to the villa to rest. Tang Chi could only nod repeatedly in amazement. Sitting in the luxury car, Tang Shuyan smugly turned to ask Jingming if her performance earlier had been okay. Jingming laughed and said it was very good, but bringing people all the way from Sichuan was a bit troublesome. Next time there was no need to make such a fuss. Tang Shuyan explained that those people were actually staff of the Song household stationed in this city. She had only temporarily called them to pick people up, so it wasn't troublesome at all. After hearing this, Jingming truly understood how far-reaching the influence of a mighty clan could be. He asked curiously, "Isn't the Song family's main base located in Demon District No. 7? Tang Shuyan nodded and confirmed that Demon District No. 7 was indeed the Song family's primary territory. But in other demon districts her clan also held influence. The power of his girlfriend's family made Jingming admit that the might of a Grandmaster clan was truly terrifying. The opening day of the league finally arrived. The Chengqing Central Arena towered against the sky. Helicopters circled overhead, creating an extraordinarily grand atmosphere. In the stands, Tang Shuyan recognized many top forces such as the Lei Ting Martial School, Bao Hung Martial School, and the Dawnlight Legion, all sending rank 7 Grandmasters to lead their teams. She understood this was a golden opportunity for organizations to recruit talents, so no one wanted to miss it. Fireworks exploded across the sky, signaling the official start of the opening ceremony before tens of thousands of spectators. MC Tad Donga stepped onto the stage to cheers. He loudly welcomed everyone to the National University Exchange Tournament and announced that before the competition began he would introduce the 10 schools participating in the team event. The first to be announced was Qingjing University of Abilities. The team in blue emerged to enthusiastic cheers from the school's fans. Next came Jing University, one of this year's strong title contenders. Tad Donga continued to rile up the crowd as he introduced last season's runner-up team. It was Mado University of Abilities. Jingming led the lineup onto the field with confident, spirited bearing, causing the stands to erupt in chants of the school's name. Meanwhile, the MC proceeded to introduce the third team entering the stage. The remaining teams appeared one after another amid the solemn, tense atmosphere of a national competition. The audience filled the stands, anxiously awaiting the performances of the country's strongest young prodigies. Finally came the representative from Baishan. MC Tad Donga loudly announced that this year's tournament would have 3 main categories: team matches, individual matches, and survival. Since the team and individual events would take place first, he began announcing the accompanying prizes. Tad Donga continued to introduce the event categories and emphasized that this year's competition would be extremely fierce. The prizes this year were exceptionally valuable. The championship team would each receive a custom-designed S-grade battlesuit. The individual champion would receive a space ring with a 30 cubic meter capacity. The winner of the survival event would get a 6th-grade talisman box from an ancient civilization ruin with absolute defensive capabilities. The crowd below was stunned. Many remarked that the organizers were overly generous to give an S-grade battlesuit to each member of the winning team. Everyone realized this year's tournament would undoubtedly be brutal. Standing on the field, Jingming's eyes flashed with determination. He thought silently that these prizes were treasures he truly needed. Tad Donga proclaimed in a strong voice that the first round of the team event would be a single round robin. Each school would face the 9 others in turn, with 5 matches per day for 9 consecutive days. The opening match officially began. On the arena's big screen, MC Tad Donga excitedly announced the tournament's opening match. Immediately after, the bracket displayed the matchup between 2 teams, Mado University of Abilities and Baishan University of Abilities. Tad Donga went on to explain the rules. If any player encountered a life-threatening situation, the AI would automatically activate a defensive network to ensure safety. However, that would also mean the player was eliminated from the match. After outlining the rules, he officially invited both teams to enter the arena. Below the stands, the crowd immediately buzzed because Mado was appearing in the first match. Many people were eager to see the strength of the S-level Awakener in person. Still, some doubted since they heard he had only reached upper rank 3. So he might not be overwhelmingly powerful yet. Jingming stood on the field, calmly looking at the opponent. He curled his lip slightly, feeling his team's luck was good to face Baishan in the opener. Contrasting that confidence, Kai Liang seemed quite worried. He quietly asked Captain Ji Wei if he could swap with the substitute. Ji Wei immediately dismissed the idea. He said the whole team had trained hard for a long time. So even if they lost, they had to fight with the school's fighting spirit. Hearing the captain, the others immediately regained their morale. They declared in unison that even if they lost, everyone should see the poise of Team Baishan. The group urged Kai Liang to hurry onto the field. Kai Liang drew his sword from its scabbard, his eyes full of determination. He shouted to his teammates, "Then let's go." The 2 teams quickly faced each other in the vast arena. The tense atmosphere under the gaze of tens of thousands of spectators. Experienced audience members began analyzing both sides' strength from the displayed levels. Team Mado had 1 mid-rank 4, 2 lower rank 4s, and 1 upper rank 3. In contrast, Team Baishan was much weaker with only 1 mid-rank 4 and 4 peak rank 3s. Some even mocked it as a scene of one god carrying a bunch of weights. At that moment, the countdown clock sounded throughout the arena. 3, 2, 1, begin. The moment the signal sounded, teammates immediately turned to ask Jingming which formation to use. He coldly replied, "No need." Immediately after, yellow lightning erupted around his body. Jingming dashed forward alone like a bolt of lightning toward the opposing formation. This action instantly shook the entire stands. Everyone was baffled that Mado's S-rank Awakener would leave formation and rush forward solo like that. Some wondered in shock whether he was overconfident or truly seeking his own death. On the opposite side, Ji Wei immediately saw an opportunity. Seeing Jingming separated from his teammates, he inwardly rejoiced. Ji Wei quickly ordered Kai Liang and Ma Long to charge up for a direct attack with him. At the same time, he told Old Li and Old Wang to stay back and support with magic and boost the team's power from afar. The entire Baishan team lunged straight at the single target before them. Ji Wei, captain of the White Mountain team, opened the match with Dimensional Wind Reaver, an S-rank skill capable of tearing through ordinary defenses. Spectators in the stands began to sneer, thinking Xu Jingming was overconfident for breaking formation and would quickly fall into danger. But this world runs by the law of the strong. Those razor wind blades couldn't reach Xu Jingming. Jingming turned the S-rank skill into a harmless joke. Space seemed to freeze. Everyone was stunned by the terrifying defensive ability of the lightning-type S-level power. Dean Liu realized this wasn't ordinary elemental defense but a result of extremely high condensation mastery. A level even seasoned veterans coveted. Ka Luong completely lost his composure. He thought if Jingming attacked with the team he wouldn't have a chance. But since Jingming dared to split off, he would seize this opportunity. He lunged madly with the move, Rage Sever, trying to find a sliver of hope for victory. Facing the attack, Xu Jingming remained calm, but the thunderous aura around him shifted into a terrifying destructive state. Jingming used only one hand to control a weapon to block the assault. The clash of metal rang out. But it wasn't a balanced contest of strength. It was the absolute suppression of lightning. Ka Luang's sword flew away like a cheap toy, stripping the last shred of pride from a so-called White Mountain prodigy. Ka Luang stared in shock at the overwhelming power, unable to comprehend what had happened. At that moment Ka Luang's other teammates also rushed in. They coordinated smoothly and in an instant surrounded Jingming at the center and launched a combined assault. Jingming just smiled. Brilliant white and gold lightning covered his body, radiating a suffocating authority. The light reflected the cold in Jingming's eyes. No pity, only judgment for the weak. A wide area strike erupted, sending the entire opposing formation flying like dry leaves before a storm. The violent burst of power confirmed a cruel truth: disparity in rank cannot be bridged by numbers, and true power often wears the guise of solitude. Jingming slowly advanced toward two members of the White Mountain team. Thunder Prison was fully unleashed, turning the arena into an electrical hell that swallowed all feeble resistance. Thunder forged chains coiled everywhere, locking down every escape route of the enemy. No one could resist. Screams were drowned by rolling thunder. The match ended before the audience had even warmed their seats. The crowd sighed, admitting they'd been the fools to doubt Jingming's strength. One strike to send weapons flying, one move to launch an entire team. Truly impossibly smooth maneuvers. After this match, Jingming felt his power had far surpassed those who possessed peak level 3 abilities. Mado's members behind the scenes were happy but also a bit disappointed that the match ended before they could really show off. The remaining members of the White Mountain team were also thrown off the arena floor. The referee loudly declared all White Mountain members incapacitated, and victory went to Mado University. Under the stands, chatter buzzed about the record-setting match that ended in under 30 seconds, an absurd dominance, a feat never seen before. Experts began to question the strange lightning hue of Jingming. It bore no resemblance to any recorded lightning-type power. Dean Liu fell silent. He judged this force surely exceeded the limits of a typical S rank. He immediately ordered the AI system to collect all energy data for in-depth analysis. Numbers flashed across the processing screen, repeatedly warning of overload on the power charts. The final result left everyone holding their breath. Xu Jingming's ability was officially named City Heaven God Thunder, ranked at SS tier. In a world where power is defined by ability tiers, SS rank is a symbol of strategic existence for an entire nation. A silence fell as a legendary level ability had truly appeared. Dean Liu trembled at the discovery. For SS rank is something a population of 10 billion would wait decades to see once. He turned to tell Principal Lang Shuang that this would certainly alarm the council. While praising her security work, Lang Shuang calmly replied that it was merely to protect her favored student. Dean Liu agreed, saying this news would surely send foreign powers into a panic and could spark assassination plots from hostile forces. Dean Liu promptly assured he would control the data, then asked about his school's competition schedule. He was informed their team would compete tomorrow. Hearing that, Dean Liu also left. He ordered his subordinate to call Wang Qi to the villa because he had matters to discuss. And Lang Shuang heard those words. She thought to herself that Peking University's rivals would certainly change tactics because of Xu Jingming. But whatever they did, they still couldn't beat her Mado University. In the lounge, Dean Yang praised the recent, annihilating, performance. The team members joked and laughed, saying their captain had arranged everything before they could even act. Dean Yang reminded them that although White Mountain was a bit weak, tomorrow's opponent was Suhang University, a team that once placed fourth. So everyone needed to meet tonight to discuss strategy. Before ending, he announced that individual competition registration had begun and asked who wanted to try out. Without hesitation, the entire Mado team was ready to sign up, preparing for tougher challenges ahead. Dean Yang nodded with satisfaction and told everyone not to worry. He would personally submit the roster upstairs shortly. However, Principal Lang Shuang issued a warning. She said the capital university had already detected that Jingming possessed an SS ability, and other forces would soon discover it too. She affirmed that even Lam Tin would learn of it soon, so he should request whatever he needed boldly. Xu Jingming was a little surprised by the speed of the leak. He hadn't anticipated the huge impact of his outburst in the match. With a confident, benevolent smile, Principal Lang Shuang reassured him to rest easy, saying she would personally protect his safety from any threat. Principal Lang had just smiled. Witnessing that rare moment left those around him astonished. A male student asked why Principal Lang was unusually gentle with the captain. and was immediately mocked by the girl beside him. Just try having an SS ability and the principal will be that gentle with you too. Another student quietly warned his friend that they were too bold discussing private matters like that. Didn't they think the principal could hear? The group fell silent, only able to utter frightened noises. The smiles vanished instantly. Leng Shuang clearly sensed the students' improper words and silently planned a high-intensity training session after the tournament. An invisible, cold pressure spread, making every student's heart pound with fear, and cold sweat stream down their faces in the hallway's stifling silence. Away from the arena's bustle, in a quiet villa, another rival force was frantically analyzing every detail of Mado University's combat data. Key members of the Capital University team had gathered fully. Dean Liu wanted to know if Wang Qi had any comments on Xu Jingming's strength. Wang Qi admitted that Xu Jingming was indeed very strong, but he said the crucial point lay in Jingming's mastery of his S-rank ability, a realm even top geniuses find hard to reach. Dean Liu nodded, praising Wang Qi for hitting the key point, but said rank was secondary. What mattered was the nature of the ability. After examination he announced Xu Jingming's true rank was SS. An existence that obliterates all norms. The truth about the SS rank sent the entire room into shock and utter despair. Members buzzed, questioning whether their measuring equipment had malfunctioned. Director Liu asserted that the testing equipment was completely normal, although the exact reason was still unclear. Xu Jingming's awakened ability had undoubtedly evolved. In his estimation, this most likely happened during last year's field training expedition. The students standing nearby gasped in shock, wondering if it had something to do with the trip where the Tianming cult had attempted to assassinate him. The people around them also burst into discussion. Everyone knew that facing death could sometimes help a person grow stronger. But for an awakened ability to leap from S rank to SS rank was simply too absurd to believe. Another person analyzed the situation, saying that if Xu Jingming's awakened ability had truly reached SS rank, then all of his previous feats at Mado made perfect sense. The mystery of how he had single-handedly slaughtered dozens of peak 4th-tier ferocious beasts finally had a reasonable explanation. Hearing those words, Wang Qi clenched his fists tightly. He admitted that Jingming was indeed a genius, and if Jingming were given another year to grow, he would definitely no longer be a match for him. But for now, Wang Qi still believed he had the ability to suppress Xu Jingming. Because Jingming was only a first-year student, Director Liu placed a hand on Wang Qi's shoulder as if to encourage him. He felt relieved that Jing University still had Wang Qi as its pillar this year. However, with the appearance of an SS-rank genius, he understood that he needed to quickly readjust the team's entire strategy. Wang Qi calmly reminded him that he would be graduating next year, so he could only help the school maintain its results this year. Director Liu nodded, his expression thoughtful. He said they could only hold out as long as possible, and immediately ordered his subordinates to prepare a new battle plan. A tense atmosphere also spread through the major academies. One silver-haired leader was utterly shaken when he received the news. He could hardly believe that Xu Jingming's awakened ability had reached the legendary SS rank. He immediately roared in shock and ordered his subordinates to draft a strategy targeting Xu Jingming at once. The news quickly spread to Thunder Marshal Hall as well. The person in charge there hurriedly ordered a report to be sent to headquarters so that their entire recruitment strategy could be reconsidered. They had originally planned was no longer enough for an SS-rank genius. The emergence of an SS-rank talent had overturned all of the major factions' previous calculations. At Violent Bear Marshal Hall, the atmosphere was no less tense. The commander there declared that no matter the cost, they had to recruit Xu Jingming to their side. The military also did not remain on the sidelines. An officer hurriedly reported to his superiors about the appearance of Great Shah's first SS-rank awakened individual of the year. The general sternly ordered the news to be released to the media immediately. He wanted the entire world to know that Great Shah now possessed a national treasure. In the blink of an eye, Xu Jingming's image and information about heavenly divine thunder covered the headlines everywhere. Every title was filled with pride, proclaiming that a prosperous era was on the horizon. Inside a quiet traditional room, Counselor Wang Jun was calmly playing chess with Liu Yushan when a female assistant walked in. She reported that news about Xu Jingming had shot straight to the #1 spot on every trending search ranking. causing a true media earthquake. She had noticed signs that foreign factions were deliberately amplifying the news in an attempt to create trouble for Jingming. So she asked Wang Jun whether they should intervene to cool down the media frenzy. Wang Jun snorted in disdain, calling those traitors vermin and telling her not to worry. With Great Shah's current foundation and status, he was fully confident they could easily protect an SS-ranked powerhouse like Jingming. Wang Jun placed a chess piece on the board and then asked about Jingming's current security arrangements. Lu Yushan replied that the person directly responsible was Mado's vice principal. Hearing that name, Wang Jun looked slightly surprised. He recalled that she was the woman from Thunder Martial Hall who possessed an S-rank spatial ability, and wondered why she was still at Mado instead of returning to headquarters. Lu Yushan explained that because she had run into trouble with a famous figure from the Li family, she had no choice but to take refuge at Mado. He also expressed admiration upon learning that, even without support from the Martial Hall, she had still reached mid-level 8th rank in just 3 years, an achievement that was truly remarkable. Wang Jun stroked his beard and remarked that the girl's temperament was indeed stubborn. To others, a marriage alliance with the Li family would have been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yet she had treated it like a disaster and fled all the way to Mado. Even so, Wang Jun felt completely at ease knowing that such an expert was personally protecting Jingming. The scene shifted to the massive arena, where the individual competition officially began under the blazing sunlight. Standing in the center of the field, the host loudly announced that this year's men's singles event had a total of 64 contestants from 10 universities. By the end of the afternoon, the competition would be brutally intense, as only 32 outstanding competitors would advance to the second round. He excitedly announced that the AI system would now randomly draw the first 32 matchups on the spot. The tournament bracket appeared on the giant screen as tens of thousands of spectators watched in suspense. The atmosphere grew hotter with every passing second as the AI system continued its selection. Xu Jingming's group immediately began checking the match schedule. One of his friends became excited when he saw that he was in the 6th match, facing Suheng University of Awakened Abilities, considering it a great opportunity to gauge the opponent's strength ahead of tomorrow's team battle. Xu Jingming calmly looked up at the screen and saw his own name appear in the 3rd match of the opening round. His opponent this time was Chu Hu from Chingcheng University. The MC grabbed the microphone and shouted that every 4 matches would count as one round of competition. The first round officially began amid heroic music and the overwhelming excitement of tens of thousands of spectators. Jingming stepped onto the arena with ease, his familiar long spear in hand, radiating an overwhelmingly domineering aura. In the stands, Mado's passionate fans shouted his nickname, Thunder Emperor, all of them eager to witness firsthand the power of an SS-rank warrior. Standing opposite Jingming, Chu Hu looked visibly tense. Sweat poured down his face when he realized that he had to face the most terrifying name in the tournament in the very first round. Chu Hu inwardly lamented his terrible luck, but then quickly tried to comfort himself. After all, if he somehow defeated an SS rank, his name would become famous overnight. The referee signaled for both sides to prepare, and the countdown echoed throughout the stadium. 3, 2, 1. The two opponents stood at a safe distance from one another, ready to unleash their power the instant the signal was given. Begin. Immediately, Chu Hu activated his wind element awakened ability. Powerful swirling currents surrounded his body, creating a miniature tornado beneath his feet. In the next instant, Chu Hu shot upward into the sky like an arrow. He flew straight into the air, taking advantage of his aerial mobility to prevent Jingming from getting close. Jingming looked up with slight surprise. He had not expected his opponent to possess the ability to fly freely. He reminded himself that he could not afford to underestimate anyone in this tournament. High above, Chu Hu laughed smugly and loudly taunted Jingming. He was confident that as long as he remained at this altitude and his energy did not run out, Jingming's lightning attacks would not even be able to touch the hem of his clothes. Chu Hu launched his attack with a move called Wind Blade Slash. He swung his arm, creating countless razor-sharp blades of wind that tore through the air and rained down toward Jingming's position at terrifying speed. Jingming swiftly dodged, while the wind blades slashed into the arena floor, leaving behind deep cracks and clouds of dust. As he evaded, Jingming quickly analyzed the situation. His maximum jumping height was only 32 meters, while Chu Hu was flying more than 70 meters in the air. At that distance, even using his lightning spear as a ranged attack would make hitting the target extremely difficult. The relentless aerial attacks continued pouring down without pause. Jingming darted across the battlefield, inwardly thinking that if only he had some kind of gravitational force to drag that guy down, or at least slow his movements, this fight would be much easier. In the stands, the audience began discussing the situation. Some people felt that Chu Hu hovering in the air like that was practically cheating. After all, sooner or later he would still lose once the protective barrier shrank after 20 minutes. But most agreed that it was an effective stalling tactic against an SS rank opponent. Jingming had no intention of simply standing there, taking hits, and waiting for time to pass. Letting the opponent maintain control and drag out the fight was clearly not the Thunder Emperor's style of combat. Xu Jingming concentrated power into his palm. Brilliant golden lightning erupted violently, as though it wanted to tear apart the space around him. He stomped his foot to build momentum, preparing for an explosive strike. High above, Chu Hu remained completely confident and shouted provocatively, "Xu Jingming, it's useless. I'm flying at a height of 75 meters. There's no way your lightning can ever reach me." Jingming looked up with a cold smile, his eyes filled with mockery. In his view, the ability to fly would not give Chu Hu any chance of victory. Against this attack, even a fighter jet would be blasted out of the sky. He began gathering energy in his palm, forming a blazing sphere of thunder that radiated terrifying power. In the next moment, Jingming unleashed his move, Thunderstorm. A gigantic golden bolt of lightning shot straight into the sky, forming an electric web that covered the entire arena. The horrifying force caused everything nearby to be dragged into a chaotic vortex of energy. In the stands, the spectators' faces changed in shock at the overwhelming might of the attack. They could not believe that a first-year student could release such a large-scale and utterly overpowering amount of energy. The electric current engulfed Chu Hu, striking him repeatedly before he even had time to react. His earlier confidence completely vanished, replaced by waves of pain and paralysis spreading throughout his body. Realizing that the situation had gone completely out of control, Chu Hu panicked and spun around, trying to fly even higher. He desperately attempted to escape the lightning's range, but the thunderstorm seemed to have sealed off every possible path of escape. Jingming praised his opponent's flying ability, but unfortunately, his opponent had to face him. Jingming gave his opponent no chance to escape. The moment he finished speaking, a dazzling burst of light erupted once more from Xu Jingming's hand. Chu Hu widened his eyes in horror, his face twisting with fear as he saw Jingming preparing to unleash the finishing blow. He realized that his wind-based defense was completely useless under the absolute suppression of the great heavenly divine lightning. The lightning spear skill was activated. With a powerful throw, it tore through the air and shot straight toward its target at the speed of light. Jingming poured all of his strength into this strike, determined to end the battle in the most overwhelming way possible. In a final desperate effort, Chu Hu activated his defensive skill, Wind God Barrier, trying to create a protective layer of compressed air to block the attack. The lightning spear paused for a brief moment after colliding with the barrier, but before the power of the great heavenly divine lightning, that defense was as fragile as paper. The spear had easily pierced through the pressure barrier, then left a massive wound across Chu Hu's chest. Under Xu Jingming's overwhelming assault, Chu Hu was sent flying straight off the arena. His body slammed heavily into the ground, creating a powerful shockwave. The referee immediately announced the result. Chu Hu has lost consciousness. Xu Jingming wins by absolute victory on arena number 3. The audience erupted into astonished cheers. No one could believe that an unarmed finishing blow could produce such a terrifying sonic boom, even though everyone already knew how powerful Jingming was. The contestants from Peking University watching from afar were still deeply shocked. They concluded that Jingming was not only physically powerful but also exceptionally precise in controlling his supernatural abilities, a perfect combination of raw strength and supreme technique. Wang Qi, however, showed no signs of concern. Instead, he was filled with excitement, clenching his fists tightly. His eyes blazed with challenge. The next match would be his turn, and he intended to showcase his own strength for everyone to witness. Wang Qi's arm began to transform, becoming covered in a layer of jagged stone spikes that radiated an intimidating pressure. ready to crush anyone standing in his way. A single devastating punch sent his opponent flying into the air like a rag doll, proving that Wang Qi was also a formidable contender in this year's tournament. The loudspeaker echoed across the venue, officially confirming Wang Qi's victory. Standing in the center of the arena, he basked in the spotlight with an extremely arrogant expression. The crowd continuously chanted Wang Qi's name. Wearing a smug smile, he cast a provocative glance toward Jingming. It seemed that the next target he intended to challenge was none other than the Thunder Emperor himself. Shen Dongling smiled and pointed out that Wang Qi was openly provoking him. But Jingming merely scoffed. He confidently stated that Wang Qi was no match for him and that there was nothing to worry about. At that moment, Yang Zhenshan spoke up. He informed Jingming about numerous lucrative invitations from prestigious organizations such as Thunder Hall and Radiant Glory Corporation, asking whether he would like to meet with any of them. Without the slightest hesitation, Jingming firmly requested that Yang Zhenshan reject every offer. Yang Zhenshan was extremely pleased with his answer. One of his teammates asked why he would not at least explore the benefits those organizations could provide. But Jingming simply replied that it was unnecessary for now. Jingming understood very well that with the support of the Deep Blue system and the resources provided by his academy, maintaining his freedom to develop independently was the highest priority. Freedom was the most valuable thing a genius had to protect if he wished to reach the true pinnacle. As night fell, Jingming was walking with his girlfriend when he sensed an unusual presence following them. A seductive woman with golden blonde hair suddenly appeared and blocked their path. It was Aileen, a representative of the renowned William family from America, who had been waiting specifically to conduct an important negotiation. She went straight to the point, proposing that he abandon his great Shah nationality and join the William family, promising access to top-tier resources that no martial organization could possibly provide. Jingming responded coldly. He believed she was being far too arrogant and that suggesting he renounce his nationality was extremely disrespectful. With unwavering pride, Aileen began boasting about the immense influence of her family, which possessed 3 rank 9 martial saints and controlled numerous secret ancient civilization relics. Upon hearing about the strength of these rank 9 martial saints, Jingming fell briefly silent. He realized that this was a truly formidable international power that had set its sights on him. Aileen continued presenting increasingly tempting offers. If Jingming agreed to join them, they could provide SS-grade resources, SSS-grade resources, and even treasures far beyond anything Jingming could currently comprehend. She confidently claimed that she could offer him a much broader world, including the most breathtaking beauties imaginable if he agreed. When wealth and fame are not enough to sway a person, desire becomes the tool used to buy their soul. Standing beside him, Tang Shuyan could not hide her anger and concern at the shameless recruitment attempt by the mysterious woman. Jingming, however, remained completely calm. He looked at her indifferently, as if her promises carried no weight whatsoever. Aileen slightly lowered her head and apologized to Jingming, admitting that she might have been too direct. However, she insisted that every benefit she had mentioned was completely genuine. I understand what your family wants, but I have no interest in betraying my country, and that will never change. Don't come looking for me again. Jingming turned around and walked away without hesitation, never once looking back, leaving Aileen stunned by such a blunt rejection. Aileen let out a quiet sigh and activated her communication device to report the failure of tonight's negotiation. The person on the other end questioned why mental manipulation methods had not been used, but Aileen firmly stated that such an approach was completely impossible. A RANK9 Martial Saint's spiritual aura was constantly protecting Jingming. A mysterious man with a sinister smile appeared on the screen and asked whether a more aggressive Plan B should be carried out. Aileen could only smile helplessly. She explained that Plan B was equally impossible because Jingming was under the protection of a rank -8 Grandmaster. Any assassination attempt at this point would be nothing more than suicide. Far above, beneath the moonlit night sky, a beautiful woman hovered silently in the air, observing everything from above and ensuring that no one dared lay a finger on Jingming. Realizing that the situation was no longer favorable, Aileen reluctantly accepted the order to withdraw and disappeared into the city's darkness. The following morning, the second day of the tournament officially began amid an atmosphere of excitement and anticipation. The loudspeaker echoed across the venue. announcing the upcoming match between Mado University and Suheng University. Jingming and his teammates stepped onto the stage. The stadium lights illuminated their confident figures before thousands of spectators. Across from them, the Suheng University team stood ready as well. They were far from ordinary opponents. Having finished fourth in the nation the previous year, the audience immediately began discussing the matchup excitedly. Everyone wanted to see whether Suheng's strength would be enough to force the Thunder Emperor to reveal all of his hidden cards. The dramatic countdown echoed through the stadium. The official team battle began the moment the referee lowered his hand, the instant the signal was given. Jingming burst forward at a terrifying speed. Faint trails of purple lightning streaked across the arena as he left his teammates far behind. The audience was utterly shocked. Had he really planned to challenge the entire opposing team by himself again? Just like yesterday? It was unbelievably reckless. The captain of Suheng University roared an order, commanding his team to focus entirely on defense. They were not weaklings who could be bullied so easily. Immediately, the skill radiant violet gold lightning was unleashed. A massive stream of purple gold lightning erupted into existence, transforming into the head of a ferocious lightning serpent that devoured the surrounding space as it charged directly toward Jingming. Gripping his spear tightly, Jingming charged straight into the center of the enemy formation. He declared that all of their efforts were meaningless in the face of absolute power. Shu Jingming moved like an electric tempest, leaving dazzling purple gold trails that tore through the arena floor. The pressure released by his supernatural power seemed to suffocate the surrounding space itself. Golden lightning bolts surged forward, determined to devour the gigantic lightning serpent. The collision triggered a devastating lightning explosion. Blinding light engulfed the entire battlefield as Suheng University's radiant violet gold lightning technique was completely shattered. Their supernatural barrier was as fragile as paper before Jingming's overwhelming destructive power. The audience in the stands was left speechless. The storm of thunder and lightning had swallowed everything in its path. They realized that even the area surrounding Jingming had become an untouchable forbidden zone. This was the insurmountable gap between a true genius and everyone else. The captain of Suheng University's team gritted his teeth as sweat streamed down his face. He shouted for his teammates to charge immediately. If they allowed the other members of Mado University to join the fight, they would have absolutely no chance left. He ordered Sun Fang to activate his lightning defense at maximum output to support the assault. The entire Suheng team roared and rushed toward Jingming. However, fear had already begun to appear in their eyes. This was no longer merely a competition. It had become a battle for the pride of those unwilling to submit so easily. Jingming swung his spear forward. Instantly, green lightning bolts descended from above like the scythes of death, completely cutting off the enemy's advance. The captain of Suheng University panicked when he found himself unable to get anywhere near Jingming's position. He realized that he had greatly underestimated the Thunder Emperor's mobility. Jingming lowered his stance as the spear in his hand trembled slightly. Using supernatural abilities against people like you feels a bit unfair. Come at me with everything you've got. Let me see what your true strength really is. As he spoke, Jingming withdrew the lightning bolts surrounding his body. His words struck the opposing team like a bucket of ice water poured directly onto their pride. Enraged, the captain of Suheng University immediately ordered a full-scale attack. All 5 members of Suheng University charged forward simultaneously, surrounding Jingming from every direction. Yet with a single masterful spin of his spear, Jingming unleashed a powerful circular shockwave that sent every one of them flying backward. The sounds of repeated impacts echoed across the arena. Jingming stood firmly at the center of the encirclement. Every technique he executed was precise, carrying terrifying force behind it. The audience erupted into excited cheers. 5 against 1, and they still could not do anything to him? This extraordinary performance had surpassed even the wildest expectations of every expert present. Jingming suddenly closed the distance. With a powerful swing of his spear, he struck an opponent directly in the face. The victim had no time to react and could only clutch his face in agony. At that moment, Kong Shi and Jingming's teammates finally joined the battle. However, it seemed more like a formality to show respect toward their opponents than an actual necessity. When the captain of Suheng University witnessed this scene, he was completely crushed. He finally realized that his team had absolutely no chance of victory. Standing with his arms crossed, Wang Qi watched the battle with obvious contempt. He dismissed the Suhang team as nothing more than trash, mocking them for being so weak that Jingming had not even needed to use an S-rank skill. Just 3 minutes later, the match came to an end with an overwhelming victory for Mado University, leaving behind a ruined battlefield and an arena filled with shock. In the stands, the audience was still stunned by how quickly the battle had ended. The power of the Thunder Emperor was simply terrifying. It seemed that Xu Jingming alone was more than enough to crush every opponent in his path. The entire arena held its breath, waiting for Xu Jingming's next performance. In the spectator section, the team from Baishan University was incredibly excited. Because Xu Jingming's display had proven that their team was not weak at all, it was simply that Mado University was too powerful. And Xu Jingming was far too strong. Today marked the 8th day of competition in the National Intercollegiate Tournament. Even the enormous scale of the stadium was not enough to contain the excitement surging through tens of thousands of fans. Inside the waiting hall, groups of students were passionately discussing the upcoming showdown between Mado University and Jincheng University. Everyone believed that with their current lineup, Jincheng University had little chance of defeating the exceptionally dominant Mado team. Inside the preparation room, Zhang Zhenshin gave his final instructions. He decided to use team formation number 1 in order to finish off their opponents as quickly as possible. He looked directly at Xu Jingming and sternly warned him that this opponent was far from simple. This time, he absolutely could not fight alone like he had in previous matches. Jingming merely responded with a cold and quiet, "Understood." The loudspeakers echoed across the stadium, announcing for the teams of Mado Ability University and Jincheng Ability University to enter the main stage and begin their historic confrontation. Heavy footsteps echoed through the tunnel as the two teams slowly walked toward the brilliant lights of the arena. Han Shan, Jincheng's captain with grayish-blue hair, stepped forward and blocked Jingming's path. He admitted that Jingming's personal strength was indeed powerful, but he also mocked Mado by saying they had no chance in team competitions. A trace of ridicule flashed through Jingming's eyes. He answered with a faint smile, calmly stating that victory or defeat would become obvious the moment they stepped onto the arena. His confidence immediately irritated Han Shan's teammates. Both teams quickly formed their battle positions on the field. On the gigantic electronic display above them, the logos of Mado and Jincheng shone brightly, signaling that a fierce clash was about to erupt. Among the audience, many people began whispering when they noticed that Jincheng University had unexpectedly withdrawn 3 of their core members, replacing them with 3 substitutes instead. Their lineup consisted of 2 support-type espers and 3 long-range attackers, a strange strategy that made the crowd suspect they were preparing some kind of sinister scheme. Inside the VIP room, Principal Zhang Quan of Jincheng University deliberately provoked Principal Lang Shuang. He proposed adding an extra wager to the match in order to make things more interesting. Zhang Quan, wearing a smug smile beneath his long white beard, offered a portion of an S-rank cultivation resource as the stake. He appeared extremely confident in his student's new strategy. Lang Shuang lightly raised a finger to her lips, hesitation showing on her face. She knew very well that an S-rank resource was far too ordinary. This game needed much higher stakes. Nearby, Dean Liu was visibly surprised that Jincheng University was acting with such confidence. After a moment of thought, Lang Shuang finally declared that if they truly wanted to gamble, then the wager had to be at least an SS rank resource, a number so enormous that even the wealthiest individuals would shudder upon hearing it. Principal Zhang Quan's expression changed instantly. SS rank resources were treasures so valuable that even a Grand Master would feel heartbroken if they lost one. The price was far beyond what he had originally expected. Dean Liu quietly observed the exchange and secretly admired Lang Shuang's firmness. She had always been this powerful and decisive, never giving her opponents any chance to force her hand. Seeing the hesitation on the other side, Lang Shuang turned around as if ready to end the conversation. But Zhang Quan was provoked by her attitude. Enraged, he decided to go all in, wagering a portion of SS rank resources on Jincheng University's victory. Dean Liu silently thought that Zhang Quan truly was an old fox. The man never entered a battle unless he was certain of victory. It seemed he had already prepared a hidden trump card no one expected. Dean Liu suddenly felt fortunate that the match between Saint Capital University and Jincheng University would take place tomorrow. This was the perfect opportunity to observe their opponent in advance. Below the arena, the countdown echoed loudly. 3, 2, 1, begin. Both sides instantly unleashed their energy, causing the space around the battlefield to tremble violently under the pressure of the Esper's powers. Han Shan immediately activated his strongest skill. Streams of azure light surrounded the entire Jincheng formation, creating an extremely solid and tightly connected network. With pride in his voice, he declared that this was the SS rank skill, life sharing, which he had spent 2 years mastering. Any incoming attack would have 60% of its damage reduced and evenly distributed among the entire team. A nearly immortal defensive formation. The audience erupted into discussion. Only now did they understand why Jin Chung had chosen this strategy. They intended to use 2 support-type espers for constant healing while allowing their long-range attackers to slowly wear down their enemies from behind an impenetrable defense. Jingming's teammates were stunned. One of them believed that what Han Shan had said was absurd. It should have been impossible for 5th or 6th year students to wield an SS-rank combat skill. Jingming calmly instructed Yao Qingyu to launch a probing attack first. Qingyu nodded and immediately activated his ice element ability. Extreme Frost Ice Soul. Razor-sharp shards of ice began gathering around his hands, radiating a bone-piercing chill. A violent storm of frost exploded forward, charging directly toward Jincheng's formation with devastating force. However, the ice shattered instantly the moment it touched the boundary of Jincheng's protective barrier. Han Shan remained standing completely still, not even bothering to move, perfectly demonstrating the overwhelming power of the life-sharing technique. A mocking smile appeared on his face as he sneered that such elemental attacks were nothing more than a minor itch. Han Shan even arrogantly declared that he would allow Mado to attack freely for an entire minute. Shen Dongling began to grow anxious after noticing that the enemy possessed 3 S-rank elemental defensive skills. Kong Shi wanted to rush forward and test their defense personally, but Shen Dongling immediately stopped him, with 3 long-range attackers hiding behind the barrier. Anyone who left their defensive position would instantly become a target for concentrated fire. Realizing that the situation had reached a stalemate, Xu Jingming decided to end everything himself. If the teacher told us to use formation number 1, then let's give them a huge surprise. Jingming bared his teeth in a sinister grin. Golden lightning erupted violently around him. Jingming's hair turned bright gold and stood upright while his eyes blazed with crackling thunder. The pressure radiating from his body caused the ground around him to fracture, and the surrounding air became so heavily ionized that deafening explosions continuously echoed across the arena. The spectators in the stands instantly rose to their feet in shock. They had never seen a lightning element esper transform into such an extreme and berserk state before. This was undoubtedly some kind of special body-tempering combat technique. Even so, Han Shan forced himself to remain calm. He admitted that Jingming's Thunder Emperor state granted terrifying physical enhancement, but he still believed it was nowhere near enough to break through his absolute defense. Jingming turned toward Ji Yuan and instructed her to provide full amplification support. The young woman nodded and immediately focused her energy, preparing to unleash her strongest support skill. The skill Holy Light Blessing was activated. A radiant magic circle appeared beneath Ji Yuan's feet, pouring all of its power into Jingming and pushing his aura to an entirely new level. Jingming raised his index finger toward the sky, concentrating every strand of lightning and every enhancement into a single point. The tip of his finger shone like a miniature sun, carrying the pressure of a god passing judgment. The sky above the stadium suddenly split apart as a gigantic golden finger slowly descended from the heavens. The ultimate technique, Divine Thunder Finger, had appeared, carrying a destructive aura so overwhelming that all living things seemed compelled to kneel before it. Han Shan was completely terrified, his face turning deathly pale as he sensed death rapidly approaching. All of his confidence vanished beneath that divine pressure. He screamed for his entire team to pour every ounce of their power into defense. But his trembling hands betrayed his words. Could the combined connection of 5 people truly withstand this single finger? The massive blazing finger descended from the clouds, carrying the absolute authority of a god. This was no mere attack, it was judgment itself upon those who dared challenge the limits of genius. Han Shan roared in despair as he unleashed Life Tide with all his remaining strength. He desperately attempted to connect the life force of his entire team to create one final defensive wall. But the blue glow looked pitifully insignificant before the dazzling radiance crashing down upon them. A heaven-shaking explosion erupted in the center of the arena. The very space itself seemed to shatter beneath the destructive force of divine Thunderfinger as smoke, flames, and lightning swept away everything in its path. The spectators in the stands were completely stunned. Some could not contain their shock as they witnessed what felt like a miracle unfolding before their eyes. Many could even sense a divine aura emanating from the gigantic finger. In that instant, they realized that the difference between a genius and an ordinary person was not merely effort, but an immeasurable gap in the very nature of their power. The smoke and dust gradually dispersed, revealing a completely devastated battlefield. Everyone held their breath as they stared toward the center of destruction, wondering whether Jincheng's students could possibly have survived such a horrifying impact. Amid the ruins, Xu Jingming still stood proudly upright, his golden hair shining brilliantly like that of an emperor. Beneath his feet lay the 5 members of Jincheng University, sprawled across the ground completely unconscious. The blazing light in Jingming's eyes slowly faded as he withdrew his overwhelming aura. Yet the pressure surrounding him still blanketed the entire stadium. He had proven that absolute defense was nothing more than a joke before true power. The announcement echoed across the arena. All members of Jincheng University have been eliminated. Victory officially belongs to Mado University. Han Shan lay there with blood at the corner of his mouth, his pride shattered together with the defensive formation he had trusted most. Principal Zhang Quan stared blankly at the battlefield below, cold sweat streaming down his forehead. He could not believe that a third-rank student could unleash such terrifying power. The reality of losing a portion of SS rank resources was now becoming painfully clear before his eyes. Principal Zhang, it seems our Mado Ability University has won. Leng Shuang turned toward her opponent with a confident smile. Though bitter and unwilling, Principal Zhang Quan still lowered his head and admitted defeat. The wager had been decided. But the legend of the Thunder Emperor, Xu Jingming, was only beginning to spread. After this earth-shattering battle, just how terrifying would the pressure on his future opponents become? Principal Zhang Quan stared at the blazing spiritual fruit floating in midair, beads of sweat rolling down his forehead. It was none other than an SS-rank scarlet flame spirit fruit, a treasure coveted by every fire element awakened. In stark contrast to his disappointment, Principal Leng Shuang wore a triumphant smile. She calmly retrieved her precious wager and silently thanked Jingming for helping her win big. Watching the scene unfold, Dean Lu smiled with great amusement. He was certain that Zhang Quan was suffering greatly from the loss. However, the power of Xu Jingming's Thunder God finger still lingered vividly in his mind, prompting him to instruct his subordinates to remind Wang Qi and the others to remain extremely cautious. He believed that fortune was on his side this year. Having his team compete last would allow them to gather all available information and gain a significant advantage over the stronger opponents. In the preparation area, Yang Zhenshan excitedly announced that if the team defeated Capital University in the upcoming match, their academic credit rewards would be doubled. The news immediately sent the team members into cheers, as the opportunity to acquire more cultivation resources was now within reach. Xu Jingming maintained his usual calm expression. At that moment, Principal Leng Shuang walked over, her eyes resting on him with unmistakable satisfaction. She gently gestured for Jingming to follow her to a secluded corner for a private conversation. Once they were alone, Leng Shuang opened her palm, revealing a radiant pill emitting a brilliant glow. It was a 6th-grade Origin Restoration pill, an extremely rare S-rank cultivation resource. The sight surprised Jingming. Leng Shuang smiled and explained that thanks to Jingming's victory in the previous match, she had won quite a number of SS rank resources from her wagers with the other principals. This was the reward he deserved. Jingming smiled and thanked her, accepting the pill while secretly marveling at how extravagant martial saints truly were. They actually used SS rank resources as betting stakes. The other team members watched the exchange with obvious envy. None of them had imagined that a single victory could earn their captain such a precious S-rank treasure. S-rank resources were items that money alone could never buy. Scratching his head with a grin, Jingming casually suggested that if the principal decided to make similar bets in the future, She should feel free to place an extra wager on his behalf. He did not need SS-rank treasures. S-rank resources alone would already make him more than satisfied. Standing nearby, Chu Hu was completely dumbfounded. He never expected his captain to be so bold as to openly encourage the principal to continue gambling. Such confidence could only belong to someone truly powerful. Leng Shuang looked at her student with eyes filled with both amusement and admiration. Jingming respectfully bid her farewell. Carrying himself with remarkable composure, his teammates immediately gave him thumbs-up gestures in admiration. As expected of the man carrying the honor and reputation of Mado University on his shoulders. That afternoon, the men's singles quarterfinal officially began. Jingming's opponent was Sun Jia, a genius from Suzhou University. Xu Jingming stepped onto the arena amid thunderous cheers from the audience. The title Thunder Emperor echoed throughout the stadium, creating immense psychological pressure on his opponent. Sun Jia clenched his teeth as sweat began soaking through his clothes. He knew very well that he was facing one of the strongest contenders for the championship. Drawing his sword, Sun Jia shouted loudly to encourage himself. He declared that this time he would never retreat before anyone. It seemed that his past defeats had forged within him an even stronger fighting spirit. Jingming curled his lips into a faint smile. He liked this kind of fighting spirit in an opponent. He only hoped that once the match began, Sun Jia would be able to maintain that determination for a little longer. The countdown echoed throughout the stadium as the tension reached its peak. Moments before the spark was ignited, the instant the referee shouted, "Begin!" Jingming transformed into a streak of lightning that tore through the air. His terrifying speed was so great that the audience could only catch sight of a white flash racing across the arena. Sun Jia's pupils contracted sharply. He could hardly believe his eyes as his opponent moved beyond the limits of normal human reaction. Without hesitation, he activated his strongest defensive ability. It was an A-rank enhancement ability, Saber-Fanged Giant Tiger. His body underwent a dramatic transformation as elongated fangs emerged and his muscles swelled like those of a true ferocious beast. Under his beast transformation, Sun Jia's speed and strength skyrocketed. Letting out a thunderous roar, he swung his sword downward with overwhelming force. He unleashed the technique Tiger Rampage Slash. A gigantic tiger-headed wave of fire spiritual energy erupted forth, attempting to devour Jingming's seemingly small figure standing before him. Jingming's gaze remained as cold as ice. The lightning within his eyes shone brighter than ever. He showed no intention of retreating and instead chose to confront the violent power head-on. The spear in Jingming's hand spun gracefully as countless arcs of lightning gathered around it. Aiming directly at Sun Jia's sword, the two forces collided head-on, creating a devastating explosion of lightning and fire in the center of the arena. The shockwave caused the surrounding energy barriers to tremble violently. However, Jingming's lightning seemed to exist on an entirely different level. The moment the clash occurred, Sun Jia's weapon was instantly warped and deformed. In the next instant, the shaft of Jingming's spear slammed directly into Sun Jia's body, sending him flying backward. Even with his transformed physique and hardened flesh, he was unable to withstand the blow. Sun Jia's massive body was hurled across the arena, plowing through the competition floor before finally coming to a stop amid a cloud of dust. His enormous beast form gradually reverted to that of an ordinary human. His body only came to a halt after crashing into the arena's protective barrier. He was completely stunned by the enormous gap in strength between them. Sun Jia dropped to one knee as blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Even after giving everything he had to admit that Xu Jingming's attack was simply impossible to resist. Still, there was one final comfort. At the very least, this time he had faced his opponent with courage instead of running away like a coward. The moment he finished speaking, Sun Jia lost consciousness completely. The referee immediately declared Xu Jingming the winner and officially advanced him to the semifinals. The stadium erupted into thunderous cheers. Such a dominant victory left everyone astonished. Spectators began discussing the fact that even Sun Jia's battle sword had been twisted out of shape. Proof that the Thunder Emperor's physical strength had reached an extremely terrifying level. Immediately afterward, the announcement for the next match echoed through the arena. Yao Fang of Mado University would face Wang Qi of Beijing University. The excitement of the tournament showed no signs of cooling down. Jingming immediately encouraged Bingshan and wished him victory. Bingshan let out a soft sigh under the weight of the pressure. Yao Fang admitted to Jingming that he did not expect to defeat Wang Qi, but he would fight with everything he had for the honor of the university. At that moment, chants of "Stone Sovereign" resounded throughout the stadium as Wang Qi stepped onto the arena. Wang Qi looked at Bingshan with an indifferent expression. He secretly thought that he had finally encountered an opponent who appeared to possess at least a bit of strength, someone worthy of helping him stretch his muscles. The moment the match began, Wang Qi immediately displayed his astonishing body enhancement ability. His skin gradually turned gray like solid stone, ready to withstand any attack from his opponent. He wanted to prove that he was an unbreakable fortress. Seated in the stands, Xu Jingming watched attentively. He realized that Wang Qi was also an awakener who followed the path of physical cultivation. Just like himself, that only made him look forward even more to their future confrontation. On the battlefield, Wang Qi officially unleashed his signature technique, Desolate Earth Sandstorm Fury. A colossal sandstorm instantly engulfed the entire arena, transforming it into a deadly desert filled with overwhelming pressure. Bingshan was swept into the violent vortex of sand. Sharp ice shards continuously shot outward, but they were all swallowed by the raging sands, making it extremely difficult for him to move or launch effective attacks. Cold sweat trickled down Bingshan's forehead as he realized his vision had been completely obscured. Within the endless storm of sand, Wang Qi was like an immortal phantom lurking in the shadows, patiently waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Wang Qi charged forward like a ghost hidden within the storm. Every movement he made carried devastating destructive power. At this point, the entire battle was firmly under the control of the genius from Beijing University. Seizing the opportunity, Wang Qi unleashed the technique Earth-Cleaving Slash. His arm transformed into a gigantic stone blade that descended with enough force to split an entire mountain in half. Although Bingshan desperately activated frozen water armor to protect himself, the fragile layer of ice was nowhere near enough to stop the incoming attack. A massive explosion erupted in the center of the arena. Sand, dust, and debris were blasted in every direction. The force of the impact was so overwhelming that cracks spread across the ground beneath them. The outcome was decided instantly. Wang Qi remained standing confidently, while Bingshan had completely lost his ability to continue fighting. The announcer's voice echoed through the stadium, declaring Wang Qi the victor and officially advancing him into the next stage of the tournament. The audience erupted into discussion at the display of overwhelming power. People immediately began comparing the two monsters of this year's competition. Many believed that the eventual clash between the Stone Sovereign and the Thunder Emperor would become the most anticipated match of the entire tournament. Suddenly, Wang Qi looked directly toward Xu Jingming in the stands and openly issued a challenge. He declared that he too could defeat his opponents with a single strike and that he was eagerly looking forward to meeting Jingming in tomorrow's finals. Jingming's teammates were furious at such arrogance. None of them were worried, however. They firmly believed their captain would find a way to teach the arrogant man a lesson. Jingming remained silent, his cold eyes hidden beneath his hair. An hour later, the official list of the 4 outstanding competitors advancing to the semifinals was announced. As expected, both Xu Jingming and Wang Qi were among them, turning the next day of competition into the focal point of the entire martial arts world. The following day, the atmosphere inside the stadium became incredibly tense. The semifinals were about to begin on a scale and with a level of attention greater than any previous season. Shen Dongling was surprised to see the VIP section packed with influential figures. From the deputy director of the Department of Education to famous military leaders, countless high-ranking individuals had gathered. The tournament's influence had long surpassed that of an ordinary school competition. She secretly thought that all of these people seemed to have come specifically because of her captain. However, at that moment, a mysterious presence caused the entire VIP section to fall silent. The individuals who truly stood at the pinnacle of power had arrived. A woman in an elegant black dress slowly walked in. Her aura was both cold and noble. Her long black hair and mysterious silver eyes immediately drew everyone's attention toward her. A woman with sharp beauty in a black high-slit dress, flanked by bodyguards in black suits, strode with authority across the arena's red carpet. True power needn't be flaunted. It radiated from her bearing and made others bow their heads. Xu Jingming stood in the stands, watching that commanding figure with curiosity. He wondered who that mysterious woman could be to wield such influence. Shen Dongling beside him, eyes full of respect, introduced her as Su Qingli, the famed superintendent of the Leiling Martial Hall. Su Qingli's cold beauty and silvery blue eyes seemed to hold thunder within. She was not only a powerful superintendent but also a ninth-rank martial saint, possessing the extremely rare S-tier Jade Azure Divine Thunder ability. Jingming was still a bit hazy. He remembered the superintendent of Leiling Martial Hall had been a middle-aged man. Shen Dongling explained that the man he recalled was Su Chang, but he disappeared 4 years ago, and Su Qingli had succeeded him. When that event happened, he was just a ninth grader. Rarely paying attention to current events in the martial world, Su Qingli stood in the VIP area, her deep gaze fixed on the arena where battles were about to erupt. Her presence wasn't simply to observe the tournament, it also served an important purpose related to emerging young talents. Behind her, a loyal subordinate reported contacting Mado University to request a meeting with Jingming. But Jingming's teacher had refused all invitations. Su Qingli showed no anger. She calmly decided to wait until the individual competitions ended and then seek out Jingming herself. Her sharp eyes glinted with a hard-to-hide interest. For a martial saint like her, finding a rough gem like Shu Jingming was worth appearing in person. The subordinate looked astonished to hear the superintendent would appear in person. A ninth-rank martial saint lowering herself to seek out a third-rank rookie like Jingming was unprecedented, showing how significant his influence had become. From afar, Su Qingli assessed that Jingming's physique surpassed that of ordinary third-rank ability users. His aura was steady with no signs of relying on elixirs to level up. She smiled faintly, a rare acknowledgement for the younger generation. The arena's atmosphere peaked as the host excitedly announced the start of the first semifinal. The crowd roared wildly as the two heaviest hitters prepared to face each other on the stage. Shu Jingming stepped onto the stage with his usual calm, facing Zhou Taiji, a fighter with a fierce appearance. Shouts of "Thunder Emperor" and "Fist King" echoed from all sides, signaling an upcoming dramatic match. Zhou Taiji grinned arrogantly and clasped his hands to taunt Jingming. He didn't hesitate to challenge him to fight fairly with hand techniques instead of using Jingming's long-range lightning-type attack skills. In the stands, the audience buzzed about Zhou Taiji's odd demand. Everyone thought he was using a dirty trick to limit Jingming's terrifying ability, hoping to find a slim chance of victory. Jingming understood his opponent's intent. His face showed confident, slightly bored expression. He replied briefly that he would indulge his opponent's wish and agreed to fight using hand techniques on the main stage. The stands erupted at Jingming's bold decision. Fans worried for their idol, thinking he was arrogant to agree to close combat with a hand technique specialist like Zhou Taiji. Zhou Taiji was surprised too. He couldn't believe Jingming would fall for the trap so easily. He sneered inwardly, thinking his opponent had grown overconfident and would pay dearly for this choice. Zhou Taiji clenched his fist, revealing his ferocity. He trusted 15 years of grueling hand technique training since childhood, believing he had reached the threshold of Grand Master and could crush anyone who dared face him head-on. In the VIP area above, Dean Lu taunted Yang Zhenshan that his student seemed overly confident. He hoped Jingming wouldn't let that confidence cost him the victory. Leaving the final entirely to Qingjing University, Dean Yang Zhenshan, with his bushy beard, only scoffed in response, firmly asserting that Jingming would never lose. The countdown began, marking the start of an unforgiving battle. Zhou Taiji immediately activated his ability. His body rapidly transformed into a gigantic monkey-like beast with dark black fur and blazing red eyes. The terrifying roar of the colossal force demon ape echoed throughout the arena, shaking the ground. With monstrous burst strength, the creature lunged at Jingming like a cannonball. Its massive punch generated an enormous gust of wind pressure, aiming to smash the opponent on the very first strike. Brutal fist, Zhou Taiji shouted, unleashing a powerful blow wrapped in blazing red energy. The muscular power of his transformed form made the attack carry the weight of 1,000 pounds. Jingming stood still, eyes cold as he tracked the strike's trajectory. He casually noted that the opponent's burst power was decent, but the speed was still far too slow to touch him. Just as the punch was about to land, Jingming suddenly pivoted and dodged the attack. At that moment, Jingming found an opening. Golden streaks of lightning began to flare around his body, forming a menacing aura. Jingming gave a cold smile and declared he'd show Zhou Taiji what a truly powerful punch looked like. Thunder energy concentrated in his right arm as he prepared a counterstrike, but before Jingming's strike could land, Zhou Taiji leapt high to evade. Jingming's fist slammed into the ground, creating a shockwave explosion of energy. Zhou Taiji howled in rage. He couldn't believe Jingming dared confront his punch head-on. He considered it an act of suicide, but Jingming had prepared an even bigger surprise. He executed an A-rank lightning skill called Thunder Shadow Body, causing his form to blur amid dazzling flashes. A gigantic lightning phantom, wrapped in a radiant golden aura, suddenly appeared behind Jingming. This apparition carried tremendous pressure and launched a coordinated attack alongside his true body. The phantom's punch landed, striking Zhou Taiji with an unbelievable force. The giant's whole body was sent flying backward like a dry leaf before a storm. Zhou Taiji was stunned, blood spouting from his mouth at the unexpected blow. He couldn't comprehend what had just happened or how his opponent could produce such a bizarre double strike. Zhou Taiji collapsed onto the arena floor, hands clawing at the ground to stay upright. Those once red eyes were now filled with extreme fear and bewilderment at Jingming's unimaginable power. Jingming was enveloped by the giant, radiant lightning silhouette behind him. He looked like a true thunder god, majestic and threatening enough to make anyone tremble. Zhou Taiji murmured in disbelief as he realized that the lightning phantom had delivered a crushing blow. The pain from that hit still smoldered, like he'd been struck directly by lightning. The lightweight team's section of the stands rose to their feet in unison. No one could believe their eyes. Surprised whispers spread as they tried to figure out what mysterious skill the lightning phantom behind Jingming actually was. Dean Liu explained that this was Thunder Shadow Body, a skill allowing a lightning clone to act simultaneously with the user. He noted that based on its finesse, the technique was still at a novice level, dealing only about 30% of the main body's damage. Aileen and those around her were even more astonished to hear that. Just 30% damage from a coordinated strike was enough to make a fourth-rank fighter like Zhou Taiji spit blood. Jingming's power truly defied normal logic. The skeptics hadn't expected Jingming's physical strength to be so great. They always assumed he was merely a mage with lightning power. Zhou Taiji ground his teeth in bitter resentment. Now he understood he was facing an extremely rare A-rank lightning technique. But the humiliation of being completely overwhelmed in hand-to-hand combat made him refuse to accept this truth. Jingming looked at his opponent with derision and asked whether Zhou Taiji could withstand the next blow. His composure was the greatest insult to the man who had dared provoke him. Refusing to accept defeat, Zhou Taiji roared and activated his ultimate, Primordial Thunder Fist, boosting his physical strength by 20%. Zhou Taiji charged at Jingming again, pouring all his strength into a devastating punch. But Shu Jingming calmly met it with a lightning-ignited fist. The clash between raw muscle power and thunder energy produced a terrifying pressure at the center of the arena. A seismic explosion went off, sending up a cloud of dust and shaking the surrounding space. The forces from both sides strained fiercely, but Jingming's blazing golden lightning seemed to gradually consume his opponent's attack. Zhou Taiji's eyes widened in horror as he realized his punch was being crushed. He couldn't believe a mage like Jingming possessed hand techniques reaching an advanced level, able to confront the fruit of his 15 years of grueling training. But the pain and the overwhelming pressure told him an even more terrifying truth. This wasn't just advanced level. It was true Grand Master. Jingming curled his lips in a cold smile, confirming his opponent's belated realization. He decided to end the match with a fitting reward for the one who dared challenge his limits. Preparing to deliver the finishing blow, Thunder Dragon Fist. A gigantic dragon head formed from roaring lightning erupted from Jingming's fist, swallowing Zhou Taiji whole. The punch crushed Zhou Taiji's defenses and sent him flying into the arena's protective barrier. The terrifying power of the lightning made the entire competition area tremble. Zhou Taiji was completely unconscious, collapsing pitifully after that single blow. Announcements across the speakers declared Shu Jingming the victor, confirming his absolute dominance. The stands erupted in the frenzied cheers of tens of thousands of fans. The name, Thunder Emperor, was chanted like a proclamation for the arena's new king, who had dispelled all doubts with unrivaled hand technique power. Shu Jingming stood in the center of the arena, his face showing a hint of disappointment that his opponent was far weaker than he'd expected. He muttered about a meaningless fight, while the entire martial world shook at the rise of a once-in-a-millennium genius. Could anyone in the upcoming final force this monster to use his full strength? The atmosphere following Xu Jingming's match had yet to cool down. Spectators continued discussing it endlessly, as no one had expected a spear specialist to possess grandmaster-level fist techniques. Many even believed that if his opponent had not forced him into hand-to-hand combat, this secret might never have been revealed. In the stands, Yang Zhenshan smiled with satisfaction as he watched the unpleasant expression on the other side. Turning toward Dean Liu of Qingjing University, he sarcastically remarked that the one who had been overly confident did not seem to be Xu Jingming, but rather the opposing side. After witnessing Jingming's performance, Dean Liu could no longer remain calm. He angrily declared that it was too early to celebrate. The championship match still lay ahead, and with Wang Qi in the finals, Madou would not have an easy path to the title. With those words, he coldly turned around and left. The sound of his footsteps echoed through the corridor, as if announcing the decisive battle to come. Upon returning to Qingjing University's waiting area, he immediately asked Zhou Taiji about the condition of the competitors who had just fought. Fortunately, the injuries were not too serious. Jingming's attacks had caused only superficial wounds. Hearing this, Dean Liu was somewhat surprised. He realized that Jingming had still been holding back a portion of his strength during the match. He then instructed Wang Qi that, even if he defeated his opponent in the championship match, he must not damage Jingming's foundation. A genius of that caliber was a valuable asset to the nation. Wang Qi raised a hand to show that he understood, his expression remaining calm. He said that he knew what to do and would not strike too heavily. However, Wang Qi had his own thoughts. He reminded himself that this was merely a competition, not a life-and-death battle. Furthermore, Xu Jingming was an SS rank ability user. If he seriously injured Jingming, the higher authorities would certainly be displeased. At that moment, the arena announcement echoed through the venue, calling Wang Qi of Qingjing University and Kong Shi of Madou University to the next match. Just 5 minutes later, the battle ended with Wang Qi's victory. He easily secured his place in the finals amid the audience's applause. The championship match would take place after a 1-hour break. From a corner of the stands, Xu Jingming quietly watched Wang Qi's departing figure. A faint smile appeared on his face as he hoped that this final opponent would not disappoint him. Standing not far away, Ling Shuang carefully observed the two soon-to-be rivals. She believed that a battle between a 4th-tier Quasi-S and a 3rd-tier SS would attract the attention of many powerful organizations. The excitement surrounding the championship spread everywhere. From live broadcasts to social media posts, everyone wanted to know whether the 19-year-old SS prodigy could overcome a higher-tier opponent and bring glory to Madou University. Inside a laboratory, a young woman enthusiastically cheered in front of her computer screen. She eagerly awaited Jingming's appearance in the championship match and hoped he would claim the final victory. An hour quickly passed. The entire arena thundered with the cheers of tens of thousands of spectators. The host appeared on the giant screen and enthusiastically welcomed everyone to the 8th day of the National Intercollegiate Tournament. The announcer's voice echoed throughout the stadium, officially inviting the two finalists onto the arena floor: Wang Qi of Qingjing University and Xu Jingming of Madou University. The atmosphere instantly became so tense that it felt almost suffocating. Wang Qi stepped onto the arena with complete confidence as chants of "Stone Sovereign" echoed from the crowd. His face remained cold and expressionless, radiating the powerful aura of an earth element warrior. Moments later, Xu Jingming appeared with his spear in hand. He was greeted by thunderous cheers celebrating his title. The Lightning Emperor. Jingming walked calmly, yet every step carried the imposing presence of raging lightning. The two stood facing each other in the center of the vast arena, creating a truly striking scene. One represented the steadfast power of earth and stone, while the other embodied the explosive force of thunder and lightning. Wang Qi curled his lips into a smirk and issued a challenge. He confidently declared that now that he was here, Jingming was destined to lose. He also proclaimed that this year's championship would undoubtedly belong to Qingjing University. Faced with those words, Jingming merely smiled faintly. His gaze was cold and razor-sharp. He replied that he, too, wanted to see just how strong his opponent was to be so confident. The countdown quickly echoed through the arena. 3, 2, 1, begin. Instantly, both competitors unleashed their energy and prepared for their first clash. Jingming immediately activated his most powerful combat state. Purple lightning crackled along the length of his spear, releasing continuous explosive bursts. The overwhelming energy made the surrounding air seem to tremble. Wang Qi showed no sign of concern. He let out a loud shout and activated the skill Earth Sovereign Body. A dense layer of earth element energy enveloped his entire body, transforming him into a fortress of solid stone. The two immense forces collided head-on, creating a blinding explosion of light. Shockwaves spread in every direction, sweeping away dust and debris. Long cracks rapidly formed across the arena floor beneath their feet. The spectators in the stands were utterly astonished. Many wondered whether this was truly a student tournament. The battle unfolding before them resembled a clash between fifth-tier ability users. Jingming spun around and unleashed the technique Lightning Spear. A brilliant spear of lightning shot directly toward his opponent. The attack carried tremendous penetrating power, targeting weaknesses within Wang Qi's defenses. Wang Qi laughed confidently. He declared that such a lightning spear would be useless against him. In his view, the lightning element was naturally countered by his earth element. Wang Qi raised an arm covered in a massive layer of stone to block the attack. Earth and rock surged upward, wrapping around the lightning spear in an attempt to suppress its power. Another explosion erupted at the point of impact. Fragments of stone flew everywhere. The forces of lightning and earth continuously clashed against each other, producing sharp, ear-piercing sounds. Seizing the opportunity, Wang Qi immediately launched a counterattack with the skill Explosive Step. He stomped heavily on the ground, using the rebound force to propel himself forward at incredible speed. Like a gigantic boulder charging straight toward Jingming, Earth's sovereign cleave, Wang Qi roared as he swung his arm downward. A massive stone blade rapidly formed, carrying astonishing weight and momentum as it slashed directly toward Jingming's position. The earth element attack surged forward with overwhelming force, tearing through the air like a collapsing mountain. The entire arena trembled beneath the immense pressure generated by the strike. However, Jingming remained remarkably calm. He swung his spear and unleashed the technique Lightning Swiftwind Break. Though it was merely a basic skill, under Jingming's mastery, it displayed power far beyond its ordinary limits. The lightning-charged spear tip spun at tremendous speed, forming a gigantic electric drill. It shot directly into the center of Wang Qi's attack. The combination of speed and lightning began breaking apart the dense layers of hardened stone. The two techniques collided head-on, producing a devastating explosion. Shockwaves spread throughout the arena. Both Jingming and Wang Qi were blasted backward, sliding across the battlefield that was already covered in deep cracks. As he struggled to regain his balance, Wang Qi could not hide his shock. He found it hard to believe that a D-rank skill like Lightning Swiftwind Break could contend evenly with one of his A-rank techniques. Jingming quickly rose to his feet. Purple lightning continued to surround his body, making him resemble a god of thunder. He gave a faint smile and asked his opponent where all that confidence from earlier had gone, or whether fear was already beginning to take hold. Without giving Wang Qi any time to recover, Jingming immediately activated the skill Lightning Flash. His body transformed into a streak of purple light, moving around his opponent at incredible speed. Wang Qi could barely track his position. In the blink of an eye, Jingming had already appeared directly in front of him. Although slightly surprised, Wang Qi reacted swiftly. He immediately raised his arm to block Jingming's attack. The sounds of lightning colliding with stone echoed continuously. Cracks began spreading across the rocky armor covering his defensive arm under the relentless power of the spear. Wang Qi poured all of his strength into defense. Sweat gradually appeared on his forehead. Deep inside, he was astonished by Jingming's overwhelming offensive power. Even while defending with everything he had, he still felt his arms and legs go numb after every collision. At last, an especially powerful clash erupted. A massive explosion burst forth in the center of the arena, forcing Wang Qi even farther backward. Dust and debris quickly engulfed the entire battlefield. Despite being pushed onto the defensive, Wang Qi suddenly smiled. His eyes remained filled with fighting spirit as he stared directly at Jingming. He openly admitted that Xu Jingming was truly an exceptionally powerful opponent. But at that very moment, Wang Qi decided to reveal his strongest trump card. He let out a mighty roar and told Jingming to watch carefully as he unveiled his most powerful state. Immediately afterward, Wang Qi activated the skill Earth Guardian. The stone armor covering his body instantly erupted with power and expanded to envelop his entire form. The two fighters charged toward each other like raging storms. The arena floor shook violently beneath every movement. Wang Qi unleashed devastatingly heavy punches, while Jingming used his spear to neutralize wave after wave of attacks. The clash between lightning and earth became increasingly intense. The sounds of impact echoed continuously through the air. Purple lightning and clouds of shattered stone exploded throughout the battlefield. Jingming gritted his teeth and tightened his grip on the spear. Every strike from Wang Qi now carried immense force, as though it could bring down an entire mountain. The battle unfolded at a blistering pace. Both sides exchanged techniques relentlessly, refusing to give an inch. Bolts of lightning repeatedly tore across the sky and collided with Wang Qi's stone defenses, creating thunderous explosions that reverberated throughout the arena. As the fight continued, the atmosphere inside the stadium grew more and more tense. Jingming continuously spun the spear in his hands, searching for even the slightest weakness in his opponent's dense stone armor. Among the spectators, many could not hide their astonishment. They realized that it was not only Jingming's fist techniques that had reached the Grandmaster level. Even his spearsmanship had attained the same extraordinary standard. Such mastery was exceedingly rare for someone so young. From a distance, Su Qingli observed the battle with a thoughtful expression. Deep down, she concluded that Xu Jingming's close combat abilities were far stronger than she had ever imagined. His combat techniques were exceptionally refined and nearly flawless. However, even Wang Qi's strongest state had its limits. Sweat began forming on his forehead. He knew very well that Earth Guardian could only be maintained for about 5 more minutes. Therefore, he needed to end the battle as quickly as possible. On the opposite side, Xu Jingming could also feel exhaustion steadily building. More than half of his ability energy had already been consumed, and his physical stamina had declined significantly as well. He understood that if he did not unleash a decisive attack now, defeating his opponent would become extremely difficult. Wang Qi roared in the middle of the arena. He declared that if Jingming were given another year to grow stronger, he would undoubtedly be the one to lose. But at this moment, Jingming could not possibly withstand his next attack. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Qi began gathering every ounce of his earth element spiritual energy. The aura surrounding him rapidly climbed to its absolute peak. Jingming was completely unaffected by those words. On the contrary, a confident smile appeared on his face. He replied that it was quite a coincidence, because he also possessed a battle technique he had never used before. If Wang Qi could block this attack, he would willingly accept defeat. The final decisive moment had arrived. Both fighters simultaneously unleashed their strongest secret techniques. Wang Qi used mountain-shattering earth-cleaving slash, an attack carrying the devastating might of earth and stone. Jingming unleashed lightning-piercing demon-slaying spear, condensing the entirety of his purple lightning power into a single armor-piercing strike. A world-shaking explosion erupted instantly, blasting away part of the arena's roof. The entire battlefield was swallowed by blazing flames and dazzling lightning. Dust and debris engulfed everything, making it impossible for anyone to see the final outcome. Every spectator held their breath, waiting for the smoke to clear and reveal who the true victor would be. Smoke and dust blanketed the entire arena after the devastating clash between the two powerful attacks. On the stage, Xu Jingming remained standing firm, while his opponent had completely lost the ability to fight. Wang Qi stared at the wound on his chest in shock. He couldn't believe he had been defeated so quickly. Jingming's strength had far exceeded anything he had imagined. Wang Qi collapsed onto the ground. Before losing consciousness, he admitted that Jingming's spear thrust was simply too fast. The announcer's voice echoed throughout the stadium, declaring Xu Jingming the men's singles champion of the National Intercollegiate Tournament. It was an utterly convincing victory. Xu Jingming walked off the stage under countless admiring gazes as chants of "Thunder Emperor" thundered throughout the arena. In the audience, Tang Shuyan was overwhelmed with excitement as she watched her boyfriend claim the championship title. Jingming's friends also erupted with pride. Everyone praised his brilliant performance and overwhelming strength without restraint. Meanwhile, in a laboratory, Zhang Chu was equally thrilled by his success. His achievement strengthened her determination to earn her Level 3 pharmacist certification as soon as possible. The members of Mado Academy quickly gathered around to congratulate him. To them, Jingming was not only their captain but also the symbol of the academy's strength. Zhang Zhenshan looked at Jingming with immense pride. If they could win just one more event, Mado would capture this year's overall championship. In stark contrast to Mado's celebration, the Qingjing team section was shrouded in a gloomy atmosphere. The defeat of their genius, Wang Qi, was a tremendous blow to the entire team. Dean Liu quickly encouraged everyone, reminding them that the team finals would take place the next day, giving them one more chance to reclaim their honor. Inside the VIP section, principals and distinguished guests came one after another to congratulate Principal Ling of Mado. The academy's reputation was soaring thanks to Jingming's remarkable achievement. Despite celebrating the victory, Principal Leng Shuang still regretted that Principal Xu Ping had refused to make a wager with her. At that moment, Su Qingli swiftly walked toward Leng Shuang. The moment he stepped off the stage, Jingming was immediately surrounded by countless reporters and representatives from various martial arts academies. Invitations for partnerships, endorsements, and recruitment poured in from every direction. The crowd pushed and squeezed together just to secure an interview or obtain Jingming's autograph. Even Leng Shuang, who had come to congratulate him, was forced to stop because of the overwhelming crowd. Su Qingli stepped forward to greet Leng Shuang and requested permission to meet Xu Jingming in private. The sudden appearance and request from such an influential figure left Leng Shuang genuinely surprised. Without hesitation, Leng Shuang activated her spatial power. A glowing blue portal appeared beside Jingming. He was lifted off the ground and vanished from the crowd in the blink of an eye. The reporters stood frozen in astonishment as the very person they had been chasing disappeared right before their eyes. Such magic was completely beyond their understanding. All they could do was sigh helplessly as someone else had stolen their chance to break the biggest story. Their exclusive coverage had completely fallen apart. Not long afterward, Leng Shuang brought Jingming and Su Qingli to an elegant private room. Everything had happened so quickly that Jingming still hadn't fully grasped what was going on. Leng Shuang then introduced Su Qingli as the master of the renowned Thunder Academy. It was a name that was known by virtually everyone in the martial arts world. Jingming bowed politely. Su Qingli smiled warmly and told him to relax, explaining that she and Principal Leng Shuang had been close friends for many years. Su Qingli got straight to the point. She praised Jingming for defeating a 4th-tier opponent while only possessing 3rd-tier strength, calling it an extraordinary achievement. She then asked whether he was interested in joining her martial arts academy. Jingming humbly replied that he had not yet graduated from Mado Academy. For now, he wanted to focus on his studies and had no plans to think about anything else. Hearing this, Su Qingli smiled. She told him that if he agreed to join her, graduating early from Mado would be an extremely simple matter. Jingming was slightly surprised by this information. He had never expected his academy to have such a flexible policy. Principal Leng Shuang confirmed that students were indeed allowed to graduate early with the academy's approval. Su Qingli then explained why she had made the offer. In her opinion, the academy's resources were only suitable for cultivators below Tier 4. Jingming had already surpassed that stage. Leng Shuang also agreed with her assessment. She explained that even 4th-tier seniors were extremely rare, making Jingming's situation truly exceptional. Seeing that Principal Leng Shuang had no objections, Su Qingli continued introducing the immense power of the Thunder Academy. The Thunder Academy possessed tremendous influence and far greater resources than any university. It was home to many 9th-tier martial saints and countless priceless secret combat manuals. Jingming's expression changed the moment he heard about lightning element combat techniques. Although he already possessed the Deep Blue system, those powerful combat manuals were still treasures he desperately wanted to obtain. Noticing that Jingming was beginning to waver, Su Qingli immediately presented the 4 most attractive conditions for inviting him to join. The first condition was a monthly salary of 100 million. The second was admission into the Genius Training Camp. The third was unlimited free access to every combat technique from S rank to SSS rank. The final condition was becoming her direct personal disciple. Jingming was stunned. The first 3 conditions were already incredibly tempting. But the final one truly shook his resolve. It meant receiving personal guidance from a mage saint. However, Jingming suddenly became confused by the title Mage Saint. Until now, he had always believed that Su Qingli was a 9th-tier martial saint. Su Qingli was surprised that Jingming didn't know about this distinction. Principal Lang Shuang quickly explained. Believing that Jingming had devoted all of his attention to close-quarters combat under Yang Zhenshin and therefore had never learned these concepts. She explained that according to the terminology of the ancient civilization, a 9th-tier expert specializing in close-range combat was called a martial saint. Those who specialized in long-range energy techniques were known as mage saints or elementalists. Su Qingli added that to truly earn the title of elementalist, one had to master spirit refinement techniques. That represented an entirely different level of cultivation. She continued by explaining that spirit refinement techniques were methods for cultivating one's mental power. To learn them, a person's mental force had to reach at least 6,000 Hz. A level that no university on the planet was currently capable of teaching. Mental cultivation techniques were also divided into multiple ranks. Su Qingli promised to personally teach Jingming an SS rank spirit refinement technique if he joined the Thunder Academy. It was the highest-level secret manual currently known on the planet and an offer that was nearly impossible to resist. Jingming thought quietly for a moment before politely asking for more time to consider the offer. He did not want to make such an important decision too hastily. Su Qingli agreed. She also reminded him that once his mental force reached 6,000 Hz, he should come to see her immediately so he would not waste such precious cultivation time. No matter when he came, her invitation would always remain open. The meeting ended in an atmosphere of mutual respect. Xu Jingming bowed politely before taking his leave. Su Qingli commented that Jingming was an exceptionally cautious person. He had not allowed those incredibly attractive offers to cloud his judgment. Such composure was extremely rare among young people. Lang Shuang also admitted that Xu Jingming was currently the strongest student at Mado. Whether in combat ability or character, he stood among the very best. Suddenly, Su Qingli changed the subject. In a quiet voice, she asked Lang Shuang whether, after so many years, she had forgotten the Thunder Academy and all of her old friends. Lang Shuang immediately became serious. She replied that it was precisely because those memories were so profound that she had forced herself to forget them. Especially since the Li family had never stopped looking for opportunities to cause trouble for the academy. Su Qingli confidently declared that sooner or later, she would personally deal with every member of the Li family. Once that was done, no one would ever dare to cause trouble for the Thunder Academy again. Su Qingli also revealed that this time, she had not returned solely because of Xu Jingming. She also needed the help of trustworthy allies to rebuild her influence. And she sincerely hoped Lang Shuang would stand by her side. Lang Shuang gently removed Su Qingli's hand from hers before smiling and declining the invitation. She understood that the moment she returned, the Li family would quickly come looking for trouble. Because of that, she had to proceed with extreme caution and remain out of the spotlight. Having just broken through to become a 9th-tier mage saint, Su Qingli was filled with confidence. She believed that no matter how much courage the Li family gathered, they would never dare storm the headquarters of the Thunder Academy. She also revealed that the academy had recently recruited an exceptionally rare student with an A-rank spatial ability. She wanted Lang Shuang to personally train this student into an important figure for the future. Lang Shuang did not refuse outright and simply replied that she would give the proposal careful consideration. Zhang Zhenshin was astonished after hearing the 4 extraordinary recruitment offers. However, he reminded Jingming that besides the Thunder Academy, the Violent Bear Academy had also extended an invitation. He advised Jingming to hear every offer before making his final decision. Jingming wanted to know whether the Violent Bear Academy also possessed an sulfur monosulfide rank spirit refinement technique like the Thunder Academy. In his opinion, that was the deciding factor. Zhang Zhenshin replied that, as far as he knew, throughout the entire Great Sha, only the Thunder Academy possessed such a technique. Hearing that, Jingming began to feel that the Thunder Academy was probably the most suitable place for his future path in martial arts. However, Zhang Zhenshin believed that the combat style of a mage saint might not suit Jingming. Jingming replied that he had also learned several long-range combat techniques and wanted Zhang Zhenshin's opinion about graduating early and joining the Thunder Academy. Zhang Zhenshin advised Jingming not to think about that issue for now. Reaching 6,000 Hz of mental force was still a long way off. At the moment, Jingming should devote all of his attention to tomorrow's team finals. The 9th day of competition officially began. Host Bai Dong loudly announced that today would determine the team championship. Only the two strongest teams had fought their way through every round to reach the grand final. One of them was Mado, the undefeated team that had earned the nickname the Destroyers. Xu Jingming led his teammates out of the players' tunnel as deafening cheers erupted throughout the arena. His eyes were filled with determination as he shouted, "This final battle. The championship will definitely belong to us." At last, the battle for the number 1 title had arrived. Team Mado was the first to step onto the arena. Thunderous cheers erupted from every corner of the stands, making the atmosphere hotter than ever. Their opponent, Team Jing University, received an equally overwhelming wave of applause and cheers as they entered the arena. Their momentum was just as fierce as Mado's, and every member was determined to claim victory. As soon as he stepped onto the battlefield, Team Jing University's captain, Wang Qi, suddenly halted. He stared at the opposing team with a puzzled expression. Wang Qi quickly noticed that Xu Jingming was standing at the very back of Mado's formation. An extremely unusual position. The audience immediately began whispering among themselves. Many believed Jingming was planning to end the match quickly once again with his Thunder God's finger. Since the technique required time to charge, that was why he had chosen to stand at the rear, protected by his teammates while preparing the attack. Su Qingli looked equally confused. She couldn't understand why Mado had placed a powerful close combat fighter like Jingming in what appeared to be a long-range attack position. Wang Qi also couldn't figure out what kind of strategy Team Mado was using. However, he believed that with Jingming positioned so far back, all they had to do was eliminate the fighters in the front line first. Without further delay, the countdown began. 3, 2, 1. The instant the referee shouted, "Begin!" both teams unleashed their abilities simultaneously, ready to charge at one another. Jingming immediately activated his ability and signaled Tong Shuyan to enhance his power. Arcs of lightning instantly began dancing around his body. Tong Shuyan quickly cast her enhancement technique. A brilliant beam of light enveloped Jingming, allowing him to rapidly gather an enormous amount of lightning energy. Seeing Jingming preparing to attack, Wang Qi remained completely confident. He believed that Thunder God's finger would never be able to break through his team's formation, but he was wrong. This time, Jingming used Heavenly Thunder technique instead. Raising one arm high into the air, he summoned a brilliant golden bolt of lightning that tore through the sky. A massive pillar of lightning immediately descended from the heavens and crashed into the center of the battlefield with terrifying force. Its target was the rearmost member of Team Jing University's formation. The unfortunate fighter had no way to withstand Jingming's devastating attack. His defenses shattered almost instantly under the overwhelming power of the lightning strike, leaving him completely unable to continue fighting. The entire audience stared in stunned silence. The lightning had struck with incredible speed and overwhelming intensity, filling everyone with a suffocating sense of pressure. Wang Qi came to an abrupt stop, gritting his teeth in fury. Only then did he realize that he had been completely deceived by his own misjudgment of Jingming's technique. What shocked him even more was how unbelievably fast the attack had been. Believing that Jingming would now need time to prepare another technique, Wang Qi immediately ordered his teammates to hold back Kong Shi from Team Mado while he personally rushed toward Shen Dongling, hoping to turn the tide of the battle. With the plan set, every member of Team Jing University charged forward at full speed, each preparing to unleash their strongest ability. But before Wang Qi could make his move, Jingming's next attack had already arrived. A blinding flash of lightning erupted before everyone's eyes, leaving them with no time to react. One female team member managed to let out a single scream before collapsing to the ground. Electricity surged throughout her entire body, leaving her completely paralyzed. Thin streams of black smoke rose from her body as she lay motionless on the battlefield, having completely lost the ability to fight. Cold sweat ran down Wang Qi's forehead. He couldn't believe that Jingming was capable of casting Heavenly Thunder technique repeatedly at such an unbelievably terrifying speed. At that moment, the entire arena shook violently. Lightning swept across every corner before Wang Qi's eyes, transforming the battlefield into a blinding sea of destruction. The storm of lightning quickly engulfed two more members of Team Jing University. Their bodies were struck by continuous bolts of lightning until they completely lost the ability to continue fighting. The members of Team Mado watched with excitement. They all understood that their captain's strength had already reached a level that none of their opponents could hope to match. They quickly called out for Jingming to stop so they would have a chance to fight as well. When Wang Qi saw that Zhou Taiji had also been defeated, he was completely devastated. He had never imagined that Jingming could continuously unleash such an overwhelmingly powerful technique. At that moment, a voice echoed across the arena. "Wang Qi, you're the only one left. Will you continue fighting, or will you surrender?" Those words immediately filled Wang Qi with anxiety. When Wang Qi looked up, he saw that the members of Team Mado had already closed in on him. Kong Shi and Shen Dongling simultaneously unleashed their strongest abilities. Although both possessed A-rank abilities, Wang Qi stood absolutely no chance against their combined assault. Kong Shi and Shen Dongling quickly surrounded Wang Qi, leaving him with no room whatsoever to activate his abilities. Knowing there was no longer any possibility of victory, Wang Qi lowered his head and admitted defeat. In his view, there was no point wasting his strength on a battle he had no chance of winning. It was better to conserve his energy for the next stage of the tournament. Moments later, the giant electronic scoreboard displayed a congratulatory message, officially announcing that Team Mado had become the champions of the team competition. Amid thunderous cheers from the audience, every member of Team Mado stepped onto the championship podium, firmly establishing their absolute dominance. From one corner of the spectator stands, Su Qingli quietly watched Jingming. She had never expected him to be such an extraordinary genius in both close-quarters combat and spellcasting. Because of that, allowing Jingming to pursue the path of an elemental mage now seemed like the most logical choice. Yang Zhenshin let out a quiet sigh of relief. The burden weighing on his heart had finally been lifted after such a convincing victory. Yang Zhenshin praised Jingming for his outstanding performance, but also reminded him that the survival round was still waiting ahead. Jingming smiled confidently. What he looked forward to most was the opportunity to earn even more ability points by hunting monsters in the next stage of the competition. Since the following day was a rest day, the other members invited Jingming to go into the city and relax with them. However, Jingming politely declined the invitation. Seeing that Jingming had no intention of going out, everyone waved goodbye before leaving. As night gradually fell, Tong Shuyan brought an A-rank body-tempering elixir to Jingming's room. Her hands radiated a gentle energy as she carefully massaged his body. Jingming revealed his well-built physique. He felt a little embarrassed because he had been using Tong Shuyan's cultivation resources throughout this entire time. Tong Shuyan blushed softly, looking at Jingming with gentle eyes. She quietly told him that there was no need to distinguish between what belonged to her and what belonged to him. After saying that, she gently wrapped her arms around Jingming from behind and whispered softly, hoping that he would stay with her tonight and not go anywhere. Jingming smiled in response. The expression in his eyes had become far gentler than the cold, battle-hardened gaze he wore in the arena. Beneath the full moon, the resort where Team Shengjing was staying was enveloped in a peaceful silence. Inside a luxurious villa, a secret meeting was taking place among the leaders of several academies. Principal Zhang Quan looked at Dean Lu with curiosity and asked why he had come here. Dean Lu wasted no time getting to the point. He wanted to form an alliance with Zhang Quan's academy for the upcoming survival round. According to him, Mado was simply too powerful this year. If the other academies did not unite, the championship would undoubtedly belong to Mado. If Mado managed to sweep all three events, the individual competition, the team competition, and the survival round, the reputation and future student recruitment of every other academy would suffer a tremendous blow. Principal Zhang Quan fell into deep thought. He clearly understood just how serious the situation had become. To demonstrate his sincerity, Dean Lu promised that no one in the alliance would be at a disadvantage. Every participant who joined the alliance would receive a share of A-rank cultivation resources. Principal Zhang Quan couldn't hide his surprise at the offer. 8 portions of A-rank cultivation resources were an enormous price to pay just to defeat a single opponent. Dean Lu narrowed his eyes slightly. He fully understood the value of 8 portions of A-rank cultivation resources. but he simply could not accept another defeat for Jing University. In the end, the two men shook hands firmly, marking the birth of a secret alliance built upon careful calculation. However, they agreed that after defeating Mado University, the championship would be decided through fair competition between their two teams, with a plan to overwhelm Mado through sheer numbers. They believed that no matter how powerful Team Mado was, it would be extremely difficult for them to break through the encirclement formed by all the remaining academies. The survival round at the Mako Arena officially began on March 20th. The atmosphere was more electrifying than ever as spectators poured into the venue to witness the fiercest competition of the tournament. Countless drones filled the sky, live streaming every moment of the survival round. Everyone eagerly waited to see which prodigy would rise to the top of the ability points leaderboard. In the spectator stands, Shuyan suddenly blushed. She couldn't stop thinking about how Xu Jingming had relentlessly tormented her throughout the entire night before. Deep down, she quietly worried whether Jingming would still have enough strength left to shine today. Noticing Shuyun's unusual behavior, the young woman sitting next to her anxiously asked. Shuyun could only stammer a denial, trying to hide the embarrassment clearly visible on her face. Down on the stage, the host enthusiastically announced that the final event of the National Intercollegiate Tournament had officially begun. A map of the Mako region quickly appeared on the giant screen, covering more than 400 square kilometers. It was home to thousands of level 3 to level 5 monsters waiting for the contestants to enter. Over the next 10 days, 80 young prodigies would have to survive while hunting monsters to accumulate points. The final rankings would be determined by the number and level of monsters each contestant defeated. The rules were exceptionally brutal. Contestants were allowed to attack one another. Anyone who was defeated or forced to activate their protective shield would be eliminated immediately, while half of their points would be transferred to their opponent. The audience buzzed with excitement. Everyone believed that the clashes between the strongest schools would be the true highlight of the survival round. The entire competition area was monitored by a network of high-definition cameras, capturing every moment on the battlefield. The cameras shifted from one contestant to another as the match was about to begin. The entire arena held its breath, eagerly awaiting the first displays of power. The name Xu Jingming appeared prominently on the main screen. Standing in the middle of a dense forest, he tightened his grip on his spear, fully prepared to begin his most important hunt. This was his chance to accumulate ability points. The moment the movement restriction was lifted, Jingming glanced at the positioning device on his wrist to determine his direction. Without the slightest hesitation, he shot deep into the forest like a bolt of lightning, determined to hunt down every monster in his path. The survival round had officially begun. Before long, Jingming's first prey appeared. A ferocious roar echoed from the dense undergrowth. A pack of forest wind wolves had caught the scent of a human and swiftly surrounded him from every direction. Without hesitation, Jingming swung his spear. Brilliant orange lightning erupted violently, tearing through the air before crashing down upon the savage wolves. At the same time, the wolves unleashed countless razor-sharp wind arrows, all aimed directly at Jingming, but every one of their attacks was intercepted by the bolts of lightning surrounding Jingming. Wearing a confident smile, Jingming watched the monsters descend into chaos before the overwhelming power of the capital divine lightning. Every swing of his spear carried enough force to kill a monster instantly. A massive surge of lightning erupted from Jingming's body, engulfing the entire forest with devastating destructive power. Thunderbolts swept across the ground, incinerating the entire wolf pack before they could even get close to him. The monsters' corpses were scattered across the forest floor. Jingming calmly walked through the battlefield and continued deeper into the woods, as if everything that had just happened had been nothing more than a warm-up. At that moment, a series of system notifications continuously appeared, rewarding Jingming with a tremendous amount of ability points in just a short time. Feeling the abundant energy flowing throughout his body, Jingming smiled in satisfaction at his initial results. Without stopping, he continued advancing toward the core region of Mako, unwilling to waste even a single second. Meanwhile, Wang Qi and the members of Jing University had successfully regrouped. Wang Qi jokingly teased Han Jun after noticing that he seemed to be having a rather difficult time dealing with the monsters in the forest. Han Jun simply smiled modestly. Survival competitions always favored those with exceptional combat strength. As a support-type fighter, The fact that he could survive in a monster-infested region like this was already considered fortunate. A meaningful smile appeared on Wang Qi's face before he proposed that they begin their plan. Their greatest objective was to completely eliminate Mado University. The handshake between the captain of Jing University and the captain of Jincheng University officially marked the formation of a secret alliance in the middle of the survival round. The group quickly pushed deeper into the forest. They all understood that it was unprecedented for the leaders of two elite universities to join forces against a single person. But they had no other choice. Jingming's strength was simply too terrifying. When Zhou Taichi looked at the leaderboard, he was stunned to discover that Xu Jingming had already reached 6,310 ability points, leaving the second-place contestant, Kong Shi, far behind. Han Jun then remarked that, based on everything he had observed, Xu Jingming had seemingly never stopped hunting monsters since the competition began. Even so, Wang Qi remained completely confident. In his opinion, it didn't matter how many monsters Jingming killed, because in the end, all of those points would belong to whoever emerged victorious in the battle between the contestants. In the spectator stands, the audience couldn't stop talking about the Lightning Emperor's astonishing monster hunting speed. His score continued climbing higher with every passing hour. Many spectators began to worry about Mado after seeing that Jing University and Jincheng University had openly formed an alliance to deal with Xu Jingming. Inside the VIP section, the president of Jing University stepped forward with a confident expression. He took the initiative to challenge Lang Shuang, the president of Mado University, to a high-stakes wager for this survival round. Lang Shuang did not hesitate in the slightest. She immediately placed one portion of SS-grade resources and one portion of S-grade resources as the wager, demonstrating her absolute confidence in Mado's ability to claim the championship. What Lang Shuang had just said caught President Liu completely by surprise. But he quickly regained his confidence. He firmly believed that Xu Jingming had no chance of escaping the encirclement of the two strongest universities. So he immediately accepted the wager. Lang Shuang simply gazed silently at the screen before her. Deep in her heart, she had always believed that her most outstanding student would once again create a miracle. On the seventh day of the competition, Kong Shi, a member of Team Mado, finally came face to face with the combined forces of Jing University and Jincheng University. A fierce battle erupted immediately in the middle of the forest. Despite being completely overwhelmed, Kong Shi, in his half-beast form, refused to surrender. With no way to retreat, Kong Shi immediately activated his berserk skill, pouring every last ounce of his strength into one final assault in the hope of turning the tide. Just 3 short minutes later, a brilliant blue protective barrier appeared in the middle of the devastated forest. Kong Shi collapsed inside the protective shield and was officially eliminated from the tournament. All the points he had worked so hard to accumulate were ultimately transferred to the team from Jing University. Looking at the leaderboard, every contestant was left stunned. While the third-place contestant had only just surpassed 10,000 ability points, Xu Jingming had already left everyone far behind with more than 20,000 ability points. Zhou Taichi anxiously asked whether they should continue searching for Jingming. Wang Qi remained perfectly calm. He decided to wait until 9 p.m. when the system would update the exact locations of all remaining contestants on the map. Meanwhile, in another part of the forest, Xu Jingming was resting beside the corpse of a gigantic monster. Quietly, he began calculating the situation. After Kong Shi's elimination, only he and Shen Dongling remained on Team Mado. Jingming quietly summoned the Deep Blue system to check his status panel. Before his eyes appeared the number 51,283 ability points, the reward for days of relentless monster hunting and constant battles. With a confident smile, Xu Jingming decided to spend every last one of those points to achieve a major breakthrough and advance into the lower 4th rank. In an instant, a surge of brilliant orange lightning exploded from his body, forming a dazzling aura that swept away everything within the surrounding area. Feeling the newly awakened power surging through his body, Jingming realized that the 4th rank was truly the beginning of an entirely different level of strength. The effective range of the capital Divine Lightning also expanded dramatically, increasing from 40 meters to 80 meters. Jingming looked at the blazing lightning dancing across his palm with complete confidence. Before this breakthrough, the alliance between the universities might have caused him considerable trouble. But now, everything had changed. At exactly 9 p.m., A notification bell echoed across the arena. The system immediately updated the map and displayed the locations of every remaining contestant inside the Mako arena. One of Wang Qi's teammates shouted excitedly after discovering that Xu Jingming was only about 8 kilometers away. He immediately suggested surrounding Jingming and launching an attack at once. However, Wang Qi quickly noticed that Shen Dongling was even closer, only about 4 kilometers away. After a brief moment of consideration, he changed his target, deciding to eliminate Shen Dongling first and cut off any support that Jingming might receive. The team members couldn't stop praising their captain's careful planning. Wang Qi simply gave a cold order for everyone to move out immediately. In his eyes, the real hunt was only just beginning. When the allotted time arrived, the positions of all contestants were displayed on the tracking map. On the screen, 11 bright dots were rapidly closing in around Shen Dongling's location. Shen Dongling went pale staring at the device. She couldn't believe her eyes. 11 opponents were simultaneously rushing toward her. She immediately realized that Jincheng University and Jing University had teamed up to take her out. Recognizing the danger, Shen Dongling summoned all her strength and sprinted through the dense forest. Trying to shake off the pursuers rapidly closing in behind her, she knew they were trying to block her path and prevent her from regrouping with the captain. Shen Dongling told herself she absolutely could not be caught now. Elsewhere, Xu Jingming stared at the radar screen with cold eyes. He muttered that those people were courting death if they forced Mado's team into a corner. Immediately he dashed off like a bolt of lightning, tearing through the forest night to come reinforce his teammates. Shen Dongling was still racing against time, but behind her Wang Qi's 11-person team was closing the gap at an astonishing speed. At the most critical moment, a familiar figure appeared, causing Shen Dongling to stop in surprise. It was her captain, Xu Jingming. Jingming breathed a sigh of relief seeing Shen Dongling safe. But Shen Dongling immediately urged him to run. Wang Qi's group was too large. Even with her help, it would be very difficult for the two of them to handle all of them. But Jingming casually replied that there was no need to run. The two should just stand here and wait for them to come. His answer left Shen Dongling bewildered. Then Shen Dongling quickly understood his intent. It seemed the captain had decided to fight a do-or-die battle with those people right here. A few seconds later, the hunters caught up, seeing their prey no longer fleeing. They exulted at discovering both Shen Dongling and Xu Jingming standing there. Zhou Taichi sneered, wondering why the two stood frozen as if waiting to die. Had they decided to give up? Wang Qi mocked that Jingming wanted to avenge his teammates. Han San considered Jingming's action pointless, insisting Jingming could never take down all of them. All of the recent events were shown on the arena's large screen, and the audience buzzed when they saw Jingming proactively confronting the alliance of the two schools. Everyone lamented he was too hot-headed. If he kept running with his current score, he might still have a chance to win. The 11 split into formation to encircle them. The sound of footsteps crunching on dry leaves rustled loudly, creating an extremely tense, pressured atmosphere. Wang Qi stepped forward and loudly asked Jingming why he wasn't running this time. He was supremely confident in his numerical advantage. Jingming merely offered a disdainful smile. He looked straight at the group and calmly said, "When facing a mob like you, why should I run?" That remark immediately angered someone as self-assured as Wang Qi. He growled that he hoped Jingming wouldn't wail too pitifully when he was eliminated. Instantly, Han San activated the skill Life Resonance. A stream of blue light connected all team members, sharing damage and boosting their defenses. Han San continued triumphantly, confident that Jincheng's support combined with Jing University's offensive firepower would grind Jingming down until he fell. He even advised Jingming to surrender to avoid embarrassment. Seeing this, Jingming showed no fear. His eyes suddenly flared with streaks of golden electricity. He coldly replied that the ones who should surrender here were them. Immediately a thunderous bolt erupted from his body. The technique, City Goddess Thunder, made the ground shake violently and dust billow everywhere. Wang Qi's group recoiled in horror. They realized this aura was far from normal. It was the power of a rank 4 ability user. Jingming had truly broken through during the battle. The audience in the hall also fell into chaos. Everyone demanded the organizers turn on the sound so they could find out what was happening inside the battlefield. The host immediately spoke to calm the audience and connected with the on-site supervisor to confirm the situation. On the other end was Chu Chang. The level 6 Grand Master observing from above. He confirmed a shocking piece of news. Xu Jingming had broken through to become a rank 4 ability user. Chu Chang's gaze betrayed unmistakable admiration for the young genius who had just achieved an unprecedented feat. In the arena, the hall exploded in astonished cheers. A new 19-year-old genius reaching rank 4 was almost unbelievable. Everyone could predict how disastrous the outcome would be for Jing University and Jincheng University. Dean Liu watched the screen and couldn't help but exclaim bitterly. Breaking through during a survival tournament like this was like using an overleveled power to overwhelm opponents. And he would lose his bet with Zhang Suaoshui. Principal Zhang Suaoshui stood watching from afar, a pleased smile on her lips. She knew very well this kid always had a talent for creating miracles. As the battle raged, Shen Dongling hurried to buff Jingming. But Jingming gently stopped her. He told her to rest and leave everything here to him. He focused spiritual energy into his palm. A blazing golden lightning orb formed, radiating tremendous pressure, ready to sweep away everything in its path. Wang Qi began to panic. He felt the pressure emanating from Jingming. Although only rank 4, his aura was more terrifying than that of a rank 5. With no retreat, he immediately yelled for the team to go all out and attack. Wang Qi ordered the ranged members to prepare their strikes, concentrating all firepower to snuff out the condensing lightning orb. Immediately a barrage of fire, water, earth, rock, and many other elemental skills fired toward Jingming, creating a chaotic scene. The assaults came in waves. Yet none of the techniques seemed able to pierce the electric field shield enveloping Jingming's body. A series of explosions rang out around Jingming. But when the smoke cleared, he still stood unmoving, like an inviolable god. Wang Qi couldn't believe his eyes. All the attacks the team had unleashed were stopped so easily? Jingming slowly raised a finger and coldly unleashed the skill Thunder God Finger. A blaze of golden light erupted, concentrating all force into a single point. Immediately a terrible explosion occurred. Dazzling light swallowed the entire area where the opposing group stood. The power of this strike completely exceeded their level. Wang Qi could only scream in horror at the opponent's lightning-fast move. He desperately ordered everyone to defend in place. But it already seemed too late. The blazing golden lightning from Thunder God Finger tore through the night, striking the center of the enemy formation with terrifying force. This move not only displayed raw power but served as a blunt declaration from someone who had just broken into rank 4. Sharp explosions continued. Earth and rock were hurled everywhere, while the 11 could only emit cries of pain. Jingming's overwhelming strength rendered all their defenses utterly meaningless. A massive blast erupted in the forest, forming a mushroom-shaped column of smoke. A potent electric field radiated outward, incinerating everything within its range. The force of this technique was beyond the imagination of everyone present. As the smoke gradually cleared, the scene was grisly. All 11 pursuers lay sprawled on the ground. Blood stained the earth red, mixed with the faint groans of the gravely wounded. Yet Jingming had no intention of stopping. He calmly asked if they truly thought things would end so easily. Jingming curled his lips into a slight smile and said that merely knocking them out of the competition would be far too easy. In his hand, the Lu Yun golden powder spear began to change form. Emitting streaks of blazing golden electricity, the spear of light swept in an arc, striking hard at the figures sprawled on the ground. Jingming deliberately controlled his spiritual energy to hold them in place, preventing their protective devices from immediately teleporting them out. One of them screamed in agony as the electric current hit him. Jingming gave them no chance of a clean elimination. This was the price they had to pay for daring to lay hands on a member of Mado. Jingming continued to swing the spear. The golden bolts of lightning lashed down like whips across the opponents. Each strike carried the fury of the Thunder Emperor, leaving them writhing in torment. Watching from a distance, Wang Qi trembled inwardly, thinking that winning wasn't enough. Why torment them to this extent? All he wanted now was to accept defeat immediately and escape the nightmare. Wang Qi lay on the ground, his lips moving but unable to form words. His nervous system had been completely paralyzed by the electric field. He could only produce broken, desperate sounds. Jingming bent down and looked at Wang Qi with a cold smile. He reminded him that this was the outcome for those who bullied his teammates. He calmly added that they shouldn't be in a hurry, the torture wasn't over yet. The golden electricity kept dancing relentlessly. binding the 11 arrogant geniuses. The Thunder Emperor's chill made the forest's atmosphere more suffocating than ever. Seeing all this, Shen Dongling was stunned. She stammered, realizing that her captain had secretly possessed such terrifying power all along. In the hall, the entire audience fell silent at Jingming's display. Some cried out in horror that with a single Thunder God finger he had smashed the allied forces of the two universities. That overwhelming power was beyond description. Everyone realized the Thunder Emperor was using his true strength to avenge his teammates. The battle was almost over. Xu Jingming was still swinging his lightning whip, striking opponents who had completely lost the ability to fight back. Golden arcs of lightning continued to surround his body, serving as a clear warning of the overwhelming power he possessed. From the distance, a voice called out, telling Jingming to stop. The match was being broadcast live to the entire world. If he kept tormenting his opponents, it would leave a bad impression on the audience. Jingming calmly replied that it was not because he wanted to keep attacking. The problem was that none of them had admitted defeat yet. He needed to hear a clear surrender before he could end the match. Hearing this, Chu Chang let out a sigh. He explained that Jingming's lightning was simply too powerful. It had completely paralyzed the nervous systems of the defeated contestants. They could not even open their mouths to say a single word. Looking at their miserable condition, Jingming could only shake his head with a sarcastic smile. Even he had not expected his own power to create such an awkward situation. Meanwhile, the defeated contestants were convinced that Jingming was doing it on purpose. Jingming then came up with a much simpler solution. If they wanted to surrender, all they had to do was nod. One nod would be enough to end everything. Immediately, every head nodded at the same time. Fear and exhaustion had completely crushed the last bit of pride they had left. Seeing that his opponents had finally surrendered, Jingming smiled in satisfaction. He signaled for them to activate their safety beacons and withdraw from the competition, bringing both the physical and mental torment to an end. Standing nearby, Shen Dongling looked at the scoreboard in complete disbelief. Xu Jingming firmly occupied first place with more than 43,000 points. A score higher than the combined total of everyone else. Seeing that the area was now completely safe, Jingming suggested that Shen Dongling continue on her own. That way, both of them could earn more points. Besides, after witnessing what had just happened, no one would dare target a member of the Mado Academy team anymore. Hearing this, Shen Dongling became a little nervous. She was mainly a support-type ability user, and traveling alone through a forest filled with monsters made her worried. However, Jingming remained calm and encouraged her to have confidence in herself. Before she could respond, Jingming transformed into a bolt of lightning and shot deep into the forest. He only had time to leave her with a brief farewell before disappearing, leaving Shen Dongling standing there in a daze. Shen Dongling's face turned slightly red. Deep down, she quietly complained about her captain, who was both powerful and cold. At the same time, she could not help wishing she could stay by his side a little longer instead of continuing the competition alone. Meanwhile, Jingming's goal was not simply to earn more points. He saw this as a rare opportunity to sharpen his real combat skills by hunting the strongest monsters in the area. Jingming charged straight into a herd of wild boars like a raging storm. His spear, wrapped in brilliant golden lightning, swept across the battlefield again and again. Every strike brought down another monster, turning the entire forest into his personal hunting ground. 3 days later, the announcement signaling the end of the competition echoed throughout the area. Jingming stood firmly on top of the corpse of a giant serpent, bringing his remarkable journey of conquest to a perfect conclusion. Jingming checked his status panel one last time. The more than 31,000 ability points he had earned after days of hunting monsters were a well-deserved reward for all of his hard work. As Jingming stepped out of the teleportation gate, the entire arena erupted with thunderous cheers. The number 58,214 appeared on the giant screen, officially confirming him as the undisputed champion. The title Lightning Emperor echoed continuously throughout the arena. It was more than just a nickname. It was the public's recognition of a new genius who had just risen to fame. In one corner of the stands, Tong Shuyan cheered excitedly for Jingming's handsome appearance and incredible strength. Her long wait had finally been rewarded as she witnessed the most glorious moment of her boyfriend with her own eyes. The award ceremony was held with great dignity. A representative of Mado Academy stepped forward to receive the championship trophy. in addition to a full set of S-rank combat suits for the team. Jingming also received a 30 cubic meter storage ring and a precious protective talisman. Looking at the rewards before him, Jingming quietly felt that they still could not compare to the combat experience and personal breakthrough he had achieved during the competition. Those were the greatest rewards of all. Thinking of this, he smiled calmly as he noticed the admiration in everyone's eyes. The host loudly invited the representatives of Mado Academy onto the championship stage to receive the highest honor. Every spotlight on the stage was focused on the winners. Jingming and his teammates walked onto the stage as tens of thousands of spectators cheered for them. It was the moment that marked Mado Academy's complete dominance in this year's tournament. Brilliant fireworks exploded across the sky above the arena. Amid the festive atmosphere, the gap between the winners and the losers had never been more obvious. In the VIP section, Principal Lang Shuang turned toward Dean Liu with a meaningful smile. She calmly asked him how he felt now that the outcome had become so clear. Dean Liu clenched his teeth, his face filled with frustration and unwillingness. In the end, he could only admit defeat and promised to hand over the agreed SS rank and S rank cultivation resources according to the terms of their wager. Curious, he asked whether Principal Lang Shuang had known in advance that Jingming would break through to rank 4. Which was why she had dared to make such a huge bet. She simply smiled and replied that it was nothing more than a woman's intuition. Dean Liu let out a quiet sigh before turning around to leave. He muttered that he was getting old and needed some rest. His pride had been completely shattered by a young man. At that moment, Su Qingli also walked over to Principal Lang Shuang. She was extremely pleased that the faith she had placed in Jingming had finally been rewarded. Su Qingli reminded Lang Shuang to continue giving Jingming special care and support. He was not only an outstanding student, but also the future of the entire academy. After that, Principal Lang Shuang cast a spatial magic spell. Preparing for a private meeting with the newly crowned champion, Yang Zhenshan happily accepted the championship trophy and announced that the academy had decided to double every reward for the entire team in recognition of their unprecedented achievement. Just then, Principal Lang Shuang appeared and asked Jingming to come with her for a moment. She told him that, besides the rewards he had already received, even greater rewards and more important information were waiting for him. Inside a private room, Principal Lang Shuang revealed that she had just won a bet against Jing University. She gave Jingming two choices: receive an additional S-rank resource, or let her personally expand his storage ring. Without the slightest hesitation, Jingming chose to expand the storage ring to 100 cubic meters. To him, having a larger storage space was always more valuable, especially for long journeys. Principal Lang Shuang nodded in agreement. She explained that a 100 cubic meter storage ring was far more valuable than an ordinary S-rank resource. In her opinion, Jingming had made a very wise choice. After that, Principal Lang Shuang changed to a much more important topic. She brought up Civilization Ruins No. 9, which was about to open, and asked Jingming if he still remembered the access token she had given him before. Lang Shuang explained that Civilization Ruins No. 9 would officially open in about 7 days. Only ability users between rank 4 and rank 6 would be allowed to enter. She let Jingming make his own decision. He could either enter the dangerous ruins himself or exchange the access token for additional cultivation resources. Hearing this, Jingming immediately asked for more information about Civilization Ruins No. 9. Principal Lang Shuang signaled for her assistant robot, Eva, to appear and present all the relevant information. According to Eva, Civilization Ruins No. 9 was located in a vast independent region in the north. It opened only once a year and remained accessible for 2 months. To reach the ruins, participants first had to cross a forest filled with high-level monsters. Jingming carefully studied the spatial map while analyzing the area's energy density and overall danger level. After thinking it over for a while, Xu Jingming decided that he would enter Civilization Ruins No. 9. To him, although the treasures inside were valuable, the powerful monsters were the greatest resource for improving his strength. Principal Lang Shuang nodded with satisfaction. She explained that inside Civilization Ruins No. 9, the greater a person's talent, the greater the opportunities they would receive. With Jingming's rare sulfur monosulfide rank talent, she was confident that he would gain many valuable rewards. She then shared that she had personally entered the ruins in the past and obtained many valuable resources thanks to her S-rank spatial ability. However, she also gave Jingming a serious warning. The greatest danger inside the ruins was not the monsters, but other people. In particular, his sulfur monosulfide rank talent had already made him the target of many powerful factions. Principal Leng Shuang looked worried because she would not be able to accompany him overseas to protect him. She asked whether Jingming had learned the concealment technique. According to her, although changing his appearance was easy, the unique lightning aura surrounding him was far too easy for others to recognize. Jingming replied that he had already learned the concealment technique and had mastered it at the advanced level. Hearing this, Principal Leng Shuang gently shook her head. She explained that only after reaching the master level could the technique completely hide an ability user's aura from true experts. After hearing those words, Jingming immediately connected with the deep blue system inside his mind. Without any hesitation, he spent 1,000 ability points to upgrade the concealment technique from the advanced level directly to the master level in an instant. After completing the upgrade, Jingming smiled at Principal Leng Shuang and told her that, thanks to her reminder, he had successfully achieved another breakthrough. His calm attitude left the principal completely astonished. She could not believe that someone could break through so quickly. A moment later, the overwhelming lightning aura surrounding Jingming began to withdraw before disappearing completely. As though it had never existed. Every trace of that immense power was compressed deep inside his body. Jingming slowly raised one hand. A small sphere of lightning appeared in his palm. Although it was tiny, it contained terrifying destructive power. With that simple display alone, he proved that his control over lightning energy had reached an entirely new realm. Principal Leng Shuang stood frozen in place. Beads of sweat slowly formed on her forehead. She immediately realized that this was the genuine master-level concealment technique. She simply could not understand how a young man could master such a difficult technique after nothing more than a few words of advice from her. Thank you all for supporting my video. I wish you endless happiness and joy in life. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a like and leave a comment to show your support. I sincerely appreciate it.